병력 계속 딜레이 없이 보내면서 이런 한방은 진짜 오랜만에 들어왔던 것 같아요.
두드리고 또
이 광기가 느껴지는 공격.
최단길의 대결
진짜 타이트하게 하네요. 첫 싸움에 굉장히 강해요.
절대 타이밍.
와, 이걸 그냥 깨를 잡네요.
유영진의 런치는 멈추지 않습니다.
이 한계를 벗어내기만 하면은 자신의 한계도 돌파할 수 있습니다.
새로운 대란 왕국을 건설하고 있다.
We are under attack.
Nuclear launch detected.
나의 레벨은 다르다. 어나더 레벨 핫식스와 함께하는 ASL 시즌14 대망의 결승전 상암 아프리카TV 콜로세움에서 많은 팬 여러분들과 함께하겠습니다. 안녕하세요, 이영경입니다. 반갑습니다. 네, 스타크래프트 BGM 메들리와 함께 결승전의 문을 활짝 열어봤습니다. 뜨거운 여름과 함께 시작됐던 ASL 시즌14이 가을의 문턱을 넘어 대망의 결승전을 맞이하고 있습니다. 이번 시즌 특히나 힘들었던 경쟁들이 계속해서 이어졌는데요. 특히나 4강부터는 펼쳐진 모든 다전제가 풀세트 접전이 이어지면서 예측하기 힘든 경기들 역시 있었습니다. 자, 이렇게 쉽지 않았던 치열한 경쟁을 뚫고 살아남은 2명의 테란 선수가 결승전을 앞두고 있습니다. 그 주인공은 바로 김지성 선수와 유영진 선수인데요. 세계 첫 챔피언이라는 두 타이틀을 걸고 만난 두 선수, 과연 이번 시즌 발자취는 어땠는지 지금부터 저와 함께 되짚어보시죠. 자, 먼저 김지성 선수입니다. 이번 시즌 첫 경기는 조기석 선수와 치렀는데요. 첫 경기에서 패배했지만 이어진 8강까지의 모든 경기에서 단 한 번의 세트 패배도 허용하지 않았습니다. 이 과정에서 시드 김성대 선수, 그리고 이번 시즌 4위 조일장 선수, 그리고 태풍 이영환 선수까지 쟁쟁했던 저그 선수들을 만났는데요. 이어진 4강에서는 1세트 패배하면서 저그전 연승 기록은 10연승에서 끊겼지만 특유의 날카로운 경기 운영을 보여주면서 철벽 김민철 선수를 4대3으로 꺾어내고 생애 첫 결승 무대를 앞두고 있습니다. 자, 이에 맞서는 유영진 선수의 발자취입니다. 김성대 선수와의 와일드카드전에서 패배하면서 5시즌 만에 예선에서부터 차근차근 올라와야 했습니다. 자, 이어진 24강에서는 2명의 프로토스를 꺾어내면서 16강에 올랐습니다. 16강에서는 첫 경기 도재욱 선수에게 패배했지만 최종전 끝에 승리를 거두고 5시즌 연속 8강 무대에 서게 됐습니다. 8강부터의 여정도 유영진 선수는 쉽지 않았는데요. 8강에서 지난 시즌 챔피언 이재호 선수를 만나서 풀세트를 치렀고, 또 이어진 4강에서 역시 조일장 선수를 만나서 풀세트 접전 끝에 ASL 역대 결승 진출자 선수 중에 가장 많은 경기를 치러내고 결국에 이 무대를 앞두고 있습니다. 자, 김지성 선수와 유영진 선수의 이번 시즌 결승전, 이 태태전 결승전은 시즌2 이 이영호 선수와 연보성 선수의 결승전 이후 12시즌 만에 무려 2086일 만에 펼쳐지는 태태전 결승전입니다. 자, 오늘 우승을 차지하는 선수는 10번째 챔피언이자 4번째 테란 우승자로 이름을 올릴 수 있게 됩니다. 초대 우승자이자 최다 우승자인 이영호 선수, 그리고 김성현 선수, 지난 시즌 챔피언 이재호 선수와 어깨를 나란히 하게 될 테란 선수는 어떤 선수일지도 끝까지 함께 지켜봐 주시기 바랍니다. 자, 그리고 이번 시즌 결승전은 대국민 스타리그를 포함해서 15번째 펼쳐지는 결승전입니다. 자, 아직까지 깨어지지 않은 불멸의 징크스가 하나 남아 있습니다. 바로 1세트 승리를 거둔 선수가 우승을 차지한다는 이 기록인데요. 이 시즌 13까지 14번의 이 결승전에서도 아직까지 깨어지지 않은 기록이기 때문에 그만큼 1세트에서의 기선제압이 우승을 차지하기 위해서는 정말 중요하다는 사실을 반증하고 있는 것 같습니다. 과연 15번째 결승전에서도 이 징크스가 계속해서 이어질지, 아니면 새로운 역사와 함께 이 징크스는 깨어지게 될지도 끝까지 함께 지켜봐 주시기 바랍니다. 자, 이번에는 어떤 선수가 우승을 차지하게 될지 이번 시즌 함께했던 16강 선수들에게 설문을 통해 확인해 봤습니다. 자, 14명의 선수들 중 5명의 선수인 김민철, 조일장, 황병영, 이재호, 김태경 선수가 김지성 선수의 우승을 예상하고 있었습니다. 이 반면에 9명의 선수죠. 장윤철, 김명훈, 최호선, 변현재, 김성대, 이영환, 도재욱, 박상현, 그리고 윤찬희 선수까지 유영진 선수가 첫 트로피를 들어 올릴 거라고 예상하고 계셨습니다. 자, 계속해서 시청자 여러분의 예상까지 살펴볼까요? 자, 오후 5시까지 아프리카TV e스포츠 페이지를 통해서 여러분들의 의견을 한번 담아봤는데요. 61%의 팬 여러분이 유영진 선수의 생애 첫 우승을 예상하고 계셨습니다. 참여해보신 분들 중 5분을 추첨해서 선물을 또 보내드리도록 하겠습니다. 자, 나의 레벨은 다르다 어나더 레벨 핫식스와 함께하는 ASL 시즌14 대망의 결승전입니다. 과연 어떤 선수가 생애 첫 우승이라는 타이틀을 이 자리에서 거머쥘 수 있을지, 김지성 선수와 유영진 선수와 김지성 선수의 대망의 결승전을 지금 시작하겠습니다.
벌처만 있다면 자 디펜시브 한방.
모두가 예상치 못했던 타이밍 러시죠.
아 타이밍, 러쉬 타이밍. 평소 전진 팩토리 빌드보다 훨씬 더 빠른
3FCV였거든요.
김지성의 반짝이.
벌처가 안 죽어요.
제로기네요. 오는 맞아야 됩니다.
형이 전략 두 판을 꺼내들면서
다들 뒤엎고 발각됐어요. 김지성.
됐어요. 정타가 좋아요. 더 많아져요. 와, 컨트롤.
저거는 10연승을 달리면서 생애 첫 4강의 최단급 페널티의 대결입니다.
좀 건들고 12시. 아 벌처 난임이 좋았어. 진짜 타이트하게 하네요. 벌처 싸움에 굉장히 강해요 유영진이.
아 이런 압박은 진짜 오랜만에 느껴봤을 것 같아요.
광기가 느껴지는 공격.
두드리고 또
와.
뛰면서 절벽을 넘어서 생애 첫 결승 진출.
리페어가 됐습니다.
와 이걸 그냥 때려잡네요.
캔스 다 밀었어요.
결승전에 유영진의 럭지는 멈추지 않습니다.
We're gonna take on the world.
14번째 시즌의 마지막 대결은 역대 최고의 명경기로 장식한 ASL 시즌14 결승전 대결. 이제 두 명의 선수들이 무대에서 결승전 대결을 펼치겠습니다. 과연 여기서 생애 최초의 ASL 우승자는 누가 될지 오늘 경기를 펼친 선수들과 이야기를 나눠보는 시간을 갖도록 하겠습니다. 먼저 김지성.
안녕하세요.
긴장한 것 같은데요. 수많은 시청자 보니까 조금 떨리는 것 같은데요.
네, 이렇게 많은 관중은 또 오랜만이라 조금
오!
떨리긴 하는데 그냥 약간 기분 좋은 떨림 그 정도?
기분 좋은
네네네.
유영진을 만나니까 더 기분 좋아지고.
그것도 있죠.
아니 오늘 얼굴을 보니까 식사를 하셨어요?
오늘 그냥 우승하고 회식하려고
오!
밥도 많이 안 먹었습니다. 오늘.
야! 그럼 그 한 끼 식사는 유영진. 와! 회식 준비,
네.
회식 예약까지 끝났다는 이야기가 나왔습니다.
네.
유영진 선수 결승에 한번 올라와서 정말 아쉽게 준우승.
네.
한 번 더 올라와서 또 지면 이연준
안
그런
되죠.
사태 절대 안 돼요.
절대 안 돼요.
절대 안 돼요.
안 돼요.
얼마
이겨야
전에 식사한 거 봤습니다. 예, 그 단호박 거기에서 닭갈비찜. 예, 그거.
진짜 보셨네요.
오늘
네.
식사 메뉴
네.
결정 끝났습니까? 회식집
어.
차리고 있어요 지금요.
지금 여기 와서 응원하고 있는데
네.
끝나면은 차릴 준비 해?
야! 와. 그러면은 그 전에 그 결승전에서 패배하면서 이번 기회까지 얻기 위해 정말 오랜 시간 기다렸잖아요.
네.
상대는 김지성인데 김지성 선수는 기분 좋은 떨림이래요. 슬프지 뭐 여기 뭐 슬픈 느낌 아예 없고 기분 좋다는데 어떻게 보여요?
발발 떠는 것 같은데요.
많이 떨어 보여요.
예, 딱 보이지 않나요?
야! 그런 떨림을 수많은 동료들이 예측을 했는데 9명이 전부 다 유영진이 우승할 거라는 이야기를 했어요. 그거
네.
보고 어떤 생각 드셨어요?
근데 뭐 저번에 민철이 형이랑 할 때도 비슷한
야!
예측들이었거든요. 저는 대회 준비를 잘한다고 생각을 해서
야!
오늘 제가 질까 생각이 들긴
야!
해요.
그럼 그 9명의 선수들은 전부 다 스알못.
그럴 수도 있죠.
오! 그럼 오늘 시작 전에 몇 대 몇 스코어 예측하세요?
저는 오늘 뭐 아까 보니까 1세트가 무조건 이기면 우승을 한다고 그러더라고요. 오늘 뭐 제가 1세트 이길 것 같거든요.
막 웃음이 절로 나오고.
네, 그래서 그래도 한 4대1?
4대1.
네.
아니 그러면 유영진 선수가 뭘 할지 나름대로 연습 많이 하고 또 유영진 선수 엄청 대단한 선수, 잘하는 선수 연습해왔다는 소식까지 들리는데 그런 거 신경 1도 안 써요?
저는 오히려 영진이 형이 그 선수와 연습해서 자신감 떨어졌을 것 같아요.
야! 유영진 자신감 떨어졌어요. 지금 여기서는 사실상 그게 더 호재다.
자신감이 더 찼고 확신이 섰고 제 플레이에 믿음이 생겼고 그냥 계속 확신을 줬어요 그 친구가.
확신을 줬어요?
예,
이겼어요?
예, 자신 있습니다.
와! 아니 그럼 그 친구에 비하면 우리 김지성의 실력은 어느 정도라고?
세 발의 피도
야!
안 되죠.
세피테란 피 세발.
근데 제 생각엔 영진이 형과 똑같아요.
야! 와 그래요. 똑같다는데요?
그건 맞아요.
하지만 오늘은 오늘만큼은
네.
여기서 진검승부에 절대 제 자신감이 없어요.
네, 그 중에서도 제가 좀 더 낫죠. 그래도 자신 있습니다.
알겠습니다. 그러면은 오늘 결승전 시작하기 전에 또 이제 2번 올라온 선배로서 김지성 선수에게 한 말씀 부탁드리겠습니다.
일단 처음에 올라와가지고 좀 긴장 많이 할 텐데 긴장하면서 벌벌 떨면서 준우승해라.
야! 덕담이 나왔습니다. 발발 떨면서 준우승해라. 자 그럼 김지성 선수는요?
근데 항상 보면은 준우승도 해본 사람이 또 하더라고요.
야! 준우승 DNA!
오늘 영진이 형은 아직은 우승할 시기가 아닌 것 같아서
아직도 많이 부족해요?
오늘은 제가 우승을 할 것 같습니다.
와! 엄청난 덕담이 나왔습니다. 유영진 선수의 감춰진 준우승 DNA!
그런 거 없습니다.
그런 거 없어요?
예.
알겠습니다. 그럼 팬분들의 각오 한 말씀!
일단 너무 많은 팬분들이 찾아와 주셔서 감사하고 연습 열심히 했으니까 좋은 경기력으로 보답하겠습니다.
네. 김지성 선수 처음으로 올라온 결승 무대 우승을 목표로 하고 있습니다. 각오 한 말씀!
진짜 오늘 너무 많이 와주셨는데 다들 멀리까지 와주셔서 너무 감사드리고 진짜 준비한 만큼 저도 최선을 다해서 좋은 모습 보여드리겠습니다. 감사합니다.
역대급 시드입니다. 선수들이 풀세트 접전을 치르면서 명경기를 만들어내고 있습니다. 과연 생애 첫 ASL 우승 연도가 될지 여러분의 뜨거운 박수 함성으로 결승전 대결을 시작하겠습니다. 새로운 대란 왕국을 건설하고 있는 김지성 생애 첫 결승 진출.
다시 보기를 보면서 봤는데 진짜 그때 넘어진 것도 지금 약간 허리가 지금 좀 부상을 입었어요. 그래서 그만큼 그때 너무 기뻤어가지고 아플 겨를도 없었던 것 같아요. 그 당시 그동안 제가 얼마나 노력을 했는지 누구보다 제가 더 잘 알기 때문에 그 노력의 결과를 이번에서야 나타나게 된 것 같아가지고 그게 너무 기뻤었던 것 같아요.
유영진의 불꽃낚시는 멈추지 않았어요. 이번 시즌 다시 한번 최강의 대란임을 증명했습니다.
제가 생각했던 것보다는 좀 빠르게 다시 결승 진출을 한 것 같아서 기분이 좋고요. 사실 4강 5경기에서 제 BBS를 쓰면서 막혔을 때 그때 좀 힘들다 생각했거든요. 이제 멘탈 좀 다잡고 한 판 한 판 이기니까 결국엔 이기길래 너무 다행이었다 싶었어요.
ASL 우승을 하고 나서 슬슬 잘 풀리려나 싶었는데 자신감이 넘쳤던 탓인지 조지명식 때 너무 패기를 부렸던 것 같아요. 결승을 갔던 윤종이 형이라든지 재호 형, 그 전 시즌 우승자 현재 형 조금 억가를 당했던 게 아니었나 싶었는데
그때는 일단 첫 결승 진출이었는데 그래서 그런지 좀 제가 부족하게 준비한 부분도 있었고 그리고 제 실력도 좀 부족했던 것 같고
이번 시즌엔 제가 조지명식 때 실리를 택하려고 노력을 했더니 16강도 잘 풀리고 8강도 잘 풀리고 슬슬 좀 잘 풀렸던 것 같아요.
나쁜 습관들 다 바꾸고 여러 가지 연습도 많이 하고 지금은 좀 실력에도 자신감이 있고 한번 오르니까 그게 계속 나오는 것 같아요.
일장형이 올라왔으면 했어요. 왜냐면은 16강부터 8강, 4강 그리고 결승까지 저그전만 하고 우승하면은 진짜 좋겠다 생각을 했는데
원래 딱 4강 라인업을 봤을 때 제가 결승을 간다면 저는 민철이랑 하고 싶었어요. 지성이보다 더 어려운 상대인데 그래도 민철이랑 해서 좀 더 재미있는 결승하고 싶었고 태태전이라서 좀 피하고 싶었는데 만났죠.
김지성이 전략 두 판을 꺼내들면서
경기 터뜨리네요.
테란전뿐만 아니라 그냥 스타라는 게임 자체를 좀 변수를 노리는 걸 되게 좋아해요. 그냥 무난하게 서로 힘싸움을 하는 것보다는 초반부터 좀 쉽게 가려고 하는 편이라서
유영진 선수에게 시그니처 플레이가 지금 나왔습니다.
저의 테란전 스타일은 그냥 아이디대로이긴 해요. 계속 그냥 러쉬 가다가 뭐 이기건 지건 러쉬를 많이 가는 스타일이고
영진이 형은 정말 정직하게 힘싸움을 하는 스타일이거든요. 약간 머리 싸움을 제가 더 잘하지 않나, 영진이 형보다는.
지성이는 좀 꼼수를 많이 쓰죠. 좀 야비하게 하는 스타일이고
근데 뭐 야비하다고 하는 건 어떻게 보면 칭찬이라고 생각을 해가지고 뭐 기분 나쁘거나 그러진 않는데 정정당당히 운영을 해야 잘하는 건 아니거든요.
제가 8강 때 그 재호 형을 만나가지고 이미 태태전 다전제를 한번 했는데 당연히 전 시즌 우승자인 재호 형이 어렵죠.
영진이 형, 테란전 솔직히 그 형 벌쳐 빼면 아무것도 없거든요. 그냥 그것만 봉쇄시키면 아마 제가 이기지 않을까.
이 친구가 좀 변수를 많이 두는 스타일이기 때문에 그 부분은 좀 잘 캐치해야 될 것 같아요, 제가.
이제 오랜만에 저그전 하다가 이제 태태전을 하는데 제가 24강 때 이번 시즌 첫 경기가 태태전이었거든요. 상황을 엄청 잘 만들어 놓고 좀 유리한 게임을 졌었던 기억이 있는데 그 경기 이후에 대회에서 태태전 어떻게 하면 되겠다 깨달아서 바로 다음 경기에 복수를 했었거든요. 그래서 그때 기억을 잊지 않고 이번에 잘 준비를 하면은 태태전도 별로 어렵진 않을 것 같아요.
제가 집에서 해봤어요, 혼자서. 와일드 카드전부터 해가지고 총 25게임을 하면서 올라왔더라고요. 제가 이번 시즌을 하기 전부터 이제 느낀 게 계속 시드에 있다 보니까 경기수가 좀 적어가지고 익숙하지 못해서 좀 못하는 느낌이 있었어요. 그래서 이번 시즌은 예선부터 하면서 한 단계 한 단계 올라가면서 16강 때부터 마지막 세트에서 이기고 8강도 겨우겨우 마지막 세트에서 이기고 4강도 그렇게 이겼단 말이에요. 그래가지고 좀 더 이제 단단해진 것 같고
프로게이머 꿈을 처음 가졌을 때부터 항상 꿈꿔왔던 무대를 10몇 년 만에 밟게 됐는데 요새 계속 우승하는 상상을 하고 있거든요. 그거를 꼭 이번에 현실로 이뤄낼 수 있도록 한번 해보겠습니다.
시즌 12에서도 사실 제가 엄청 지고 있는 와중에 어떻게든 7경기까지 가가지고 혈전을 싸우다 졌는데 이번 시즌은 꽉을 간 기억이 많단 말이죠. 그래서 마지막 경기에 대한 자세 같은 거를 많이 느껴가지고 이번 시즌은 훨씬 더 잘할 수 있을 것 같아요.
오늘 태태전 결승이라서 걱정을 하시는 분들 되게 많을 거예요. 뭐 장기전 나오면 몇 시간 걸릴 거다, 뭐 하루 넘기는 거 아니냐. 근데 저는 절대 그럴 생각 없고 제가 힘내서 더 빨리 끝내드릴게요. 다들 조금만 기다리세요.
현장에 와주신 많은 관객분들 너무 감사드리고 항상 묵묵히 응원해주는 아내와 딸한테 너무 감사하고 꼭 우승해가지고 같이 웃었으면 좋겠습니다.
저는 이번에 꼭 우승을 해야 되는 이유가 있어가지고 이번에 죄송하지만 제가 먼저 한번 우승을 해야 될 것 같아요. 다음번에 제가 없을 때 우승하세요.
지성아, 준우승하고 군대 가자.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the finals of the ASL. A TVT that I think couldn't be closer, could not be more exciting. Not Flash, not Light, but instead Rush versus Royal.
That's right. Terran's number 3 and 4, I guess, in the world when you think about it. But maybe these guys are rising up to take the places of their predecessors. They've been looking fantastic this season. It's all the rage within the Terran scene. Talk about how quickly Royal is rising up specifically with his really interesting builds. And I tell you, this is a great way to cap off this entire season. It's been a fantastic one here in ASL Season 14. And to have 2 Terran players at the top, Tasteless, there's no better way.
I got to say, it's been one of the more interesting seasons that we've had, really. A lot of major upsets. A lot of the players that we thought would get this far did not. It's an exciting time, really, to have these up-and-coming Terrans who've been with us for some time, but certainly not been, as dominant in the past, finally really performing as well as they are here now.
Yeah, this was such a close round of 4, by the way. Probably the best round of 4 we've ever had in ASL. 2 unbelievably close series where really it looked like it was going to go both ways several times in Game 7, both sides. So absolutely amazing there. Such a great lineup, so much fun. And here's our actual lineup. Royal versus Rush, best of 7. And that's kind of a wild set of map choices. Look at the maps that Royal chose here. He chose all the crazy maps.
Yeah, look at that. Well, there's something to that for sure. I do feel like the one edge Royal has here is he does seem to be a little bit better at planning. I think Rush is very textbook. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with being kind of a textbook player, being like the traditional build order player and being very mechanically good at that and knowing when to pull the trigger and when to back out. But Royal, the fact that he's picked these maps, I already have a lot of ideas about what Royal may want to go for here. I think he really wants to play the map and play his strategy. And maybe a lot of this is going to come down to how prepared Rush is on those maps.
Yeah. Like you said, Royal is so good at prep at this point. Like, so many of his victories were just based off of him having some sort of build order that destroyed his opponent and having that strategy just kind of completely mapped out. And if he can bring that into Terran versus Terran as well, and I mean, if Neo Arkanoid is the first map that you're choosing, I mean, what else could it be? Like, what does TVT on that even look like?
Yeah, that's... These stats are so funny to me.
Yeah.
I do feel like we need a little bit more time for Royal to kind of flesh out what his proper stats would be here. But, it's going to be an interesting series here. Artosis, as the Terran player, as the resident Terran expert, I mean, what are your thoughts on these two coming into this?
Okay, so the thing is, I think that, of course, like we just mentioned, Royal is a bit better at prep. Overall, TVT Rush has been a bit more solid. Rush's TVT certainly has been getting better. I never really thought of him as particularly powerful in this matchup, but as you can see here, he has been doing very well. And I think especially that series that he won against Light is quite important, right? Because I would have guessed previously that Light was much, much better at Terran versus Terran than Rush. So maybe coming into his own, I'm gonna go ahead and say I think that Royal will have better prep. Like, we're gonna see more original stuff out of him that's kind of surprising to Rush. But I do favor Rush for the match overall.
Yeah, that's interesting. See, I feel like Royal is going to have this edge just with the kind of prep and the kind of weird play he might come up with here. And the fact that we honestly have a whole bunch of weird maps this season.
Yeah.
And this is a season where, like, it's not just like your Inner Coven or your Sparkle. Like, we've got enough maps that I do think can kind of reward specifically kind of weird Terran stuff. There's a lot of opportunities to hide buildings or float buildings. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see, as we get into this, how exactly Royal's going to approach this. But I do expect to have two pretty different playstyles. I don't imagine we're going to have a lot of games where they're both doing the same builds, and it's really who wore it better that day.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you on that. Like, I actually don't think we're going to see much, like, for instance, 3 Factory Vulture versus 3 Factory Vulture, even though if you, like, check out the way the matchup is actually generally played by high-level players, that'll be a huge percentage of the games that you get. But I don't think we're going to see much of that here today. I think it is going to be a lot of prep from Royal. And honestly, on Rush's side, I think if he mixes straight-up macro games with just some slightly off builds, stuff like 2-factor on 1 base into an expansion relatively quickly, if he does stuff like that, I think it could throw off the prep. Because when you prep really heavy builds, like based on what's good, right? Like if you're trying as Royal to get a build that's going to kind of catch your opponent off guard if he goes factory expand, well, as soon as they switch and deviate away from an expansion build, then your build is off the rails and it's not going to be doing what you intended it to do. So I almost feel like Rush has an opportunity to maybe use some of that prep against Royal here tonight.
We are ready to go into game 1 in this best of 7. Royal vs. Rush starts now. Who will become the champion of the ASL Finals? We begin that journey right now. Let's go.
All right, in the top right, we have Royal. And in the bottom right, we have Rush. Our first map, Allegro. This is probably the most really straightforward map that you can get.
Right.
There's not like a lot going on here terrain-wise. You do have that center area. Holding high ground in the center can be really, really powerful. A great place to move down from to deny army movement on the sides quite a bit as well. And just looking at positionally speaking, I would say Royal has like just a slight edge. But we'll see if that actually comes into play.
Some Royal support here in the audience, man. Cool to see, even with the TVT finals, the stadium is already filling up. Oh, look at who it is!
Yeah, shuttling hero here.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, tickets did sell out for this very quickly. The audience will be coming back in there. I guess we have some kind of a tech delay because here we are on camera again. But hopefully we'll get that sorted. We'll be back into the match soon enough. We were getting a shot of the audience there, so I don't know. I assume one of the players probably paused the game, and we'll send a ref down there and see what's happening.
Yeah, I'm sure it's something silly. Probably not sound off because that's very easy for StarCraft 1 players to fix. But
right,
yeah, there must be something going on, like a driver for a keyboard or mouse not working, something like that. But yeah. Looking at the map lineup, like, I feel like map 1, obviously if you look at it statistically, whoever wins map 1 has a huge percentage chance to take the series. That's just like something that happens in these best of series. But I feel like here it's really heavily like Rush needs to win this map because Neo Arkanoid being second and being the first choice from Royal makes me nervous that if Rush loses map 1, he's going to go down 0-2, which is going to be the most ridiculous thing to try to climb back out of in TVT.
It is worth mentioning as well that, the reality of just, and it was obvious to us when we saw the map lineup, right, is that, like, okay, clearly Royal has something planned on the weird maps. So, is there a mind game you can try to play where you can try to preempt whatever strategy that is? Like, when you look at a map like Neo Arkanoid, is there some kind of a special strategy that you think Terrans can use? Or some weird cheese that they can go for?
Dude, Neo Arkanoid TVT, we haven't seen any this season, and I honestly don't even know what you would do, because you can't do things like a Marine Rush, because Marines are terrible against mech, so it would probably be Command Center first. And if you're going Command Center first, it's like, well, I guess you could go Wraith, but what if your opponent just goes Goliath Tank? Like, they're going to be able to, like, take no damage, they're going to be completely fine, they're going to have a much more stable army. I don't know. I really don't know what in the world you'd have prepped. Like, maybe there's going to be something insane. Who knows? Like, jumping SCVs in the middle and doing Marines or something. Marine Medic. I mean, this is something that you'd have to really test inside and out, like the timings of.
Yeah, like, I don't know. There's probably so much weird stuff that could occur here. Okay, good. We're back into the game. Wondering how long that was going to go. We cast this, guys, as if it's live, so like when there's a tech delay, unlike when we did in the studio, it's like there's no producer that can explain to us like how long that's going to take. So always an interesting situation. Guys, before we get into this game, or I guess as this game develops, we just want to say to everybody out there, thank you so much for the love and support on Patreon. That's patreon.com/ASL English. If you haven't supported us already and have been meaning to, we want to give you that final push to go there, sign up, and a little bit from you guys really does go a long way for us. So thank you so much for helping us keep the history of Brood War alive in the English language, and Brood War forever, man.
Yes, indeed. I'm just so happy that we've had this season going on like this. Like, it's been so much fun casting it. The games have been fantastic. And I look so forward to this finals, but also just to the next season as well in the future of Brood War. It really doesn't feel like this game is ever going to go away.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how could it at this point in time? I mean, it does feel like if a game's around for long enough and it still has a scene, I don't know why suddenly that scene would die. Like, you know, even when the game was like, 10 years old, it's like, well, are you really going to stop at year 10? Like, if you went past year 2, and got all the way to year 10, why is year 20 hard to imagine? Like, at this point in time, we're almost to year 25.
Yeah.
So the game is a quarter of a century old. Why would it not go to year 40 or 50, right?
Yeah, 24 and a half years later, it's not like, well, 26 years is going to be the limit of this game.
It was really at year 27 that it kind of died down.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of any game. The only other one that comes to mind that's the same old game that's big is Smash Melee.
Yeah.
And I don't actually know which one's bigger.
Which
I'm
one's
not totally
bigger? Yeah, I have no idea,
I
actually, which one's bigger.
know. I mean, obviously, Brood War is mainly Korean player base focus, but there are actually a pretty sizable amount of foreigners, considering how old the game is. A sizable amount of foreigners or non-Koreans.
Oh, for sure.
Out there that are very strong. But I guess Smash Melee. Is there anything else?
That's still played in its original form. I mean, there's been a lot of updates to Counter-Strike, but obviously that's kind of one of the other really old
iterations.
Games. Yeah, but it's kind of still the same thing, right? Like, it has to be updated over time.
Well, they fixed all the guns and stuff, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like they just gave the game a facelift like they did for this.
Yeah.
And maybe Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and a couple other fighting games. Then again, Marvel's probably significantly smaller than these other games.
Well, talking about the actual game real quick, this is actually very important. Like, Rush went for a gasless expansion here, and Royal scouted him first. So when you get scouted first, it becomes extremely dangerous trying to defend this. We see that Royal, already down at 6 o'clock, has proxied one factory. Oh my god. And he kills the SCV before a scout gets off. He doesn't see the second SCV. This is gigantic. Royal should be able to win this game. Like, he is going 2 factories. One is proxied. He's going to get tanks out here with siege mode immediately. And there's, like, as long as he executes correctly, like, doesn't siege too quickly and get his tanks surrounded by SCV Marine, he should be able to make this natural command center lift up. And once you do that, this build is in so much trouble.
Yeah, and the Marines are doing a very good job keeping him out. Now, keep in mind that, Rush is aware that there's the possibility of this threat, but it's the ambiguity of the situation that really benefits Royal here. He's got the Marines pushing this SCV away, so basically this tank is going to get right up to the entrance. Never mind, SCV sees it, and now Rush is going to realize what's going on.
It certainly looks like a tank push. It could end up being like Tank Wraith or 2 factories, so he doesn't know about that yet. Either way, he's already chosen his poison. He's going for 2 factory himself, but he's not going to have anything that really spots better than what Royal has, right? Like, he doesn't have a Wraith or anything for that extra spotting range. So instantly these tanks come up for Royal, and I got to tell you, Tastosis, like this, I know this position, I know both these builds inside out. This is so good for Royal.
No, this looks really tough, and you can see he tried to land the barracks right over that so that it couldn't be clicked on. Well, but it doesn't matter.
Also, what this does is the bunker will not fire if you're centered there. If the barracks is centered over the bunker, it will not fire.
What?
Yes.
That's a thing?
That is a thing. And now he's going to go to the second one because this one's about to pop. And, okay, so he needs to move his barracks over to the high ground. He can't let the tank on a high ground snipe him. This is the next main thing he needs to do. And his tanks are actually not really placed correctly here. It looks like he'll just get that one out of range. But yeah, you have to make sure that you're spotting for that high ground.
I can't believe that a barracks over a bunker makes the bunker not fire. I didn't know that. Am I the only guy that didn't know that? Does everybody know this? I had no idea.
Only Terran players know that because we're the only ones that do that, right? It only happens in TVT.
I had no idea. I was wondering now. I thought, like, is the bunker empty? Am I confused? What's happening here?
Yeah, it's just you place it right there because then it doesn't take damage while you kill the bunker.
Oh my god, he's going to get vision. Oh no, they're not in range of each other.
But yeah, look at this.
Crazy.
He's shelling the command center. So Rush has one chance really to break out of this. He goes for it and sieges. 2 tanks here. Gonna try to repair. Beautiful volleys from that vulture.
Sick.
Yeah. And now look at it, Tastosis. Royal so far ahead. He has that command center lifted for Rush. 2 tanks still exist in siege mode. Rush is dead, man. He's dead.
Yeah, this is pretty over. No second gas to mine from. It's just hard to kind of push out with these tanks. There is a Wraith being made, but we saw a Goliath made earlier. One Goliath can take on even a couple of Wraiths. And this is getting worse and worse here, to be honest with you. It looks like the Vultures may have overextended here, so maybe this position is a little bit more brittle than we thought.
You know, he actually didn't bring another SCV, so he's not able to repair these tanks all the way, which is certainly a bit of a mistake. You know, Rush, there is one thing coming up that Rush may be able to do. Okay, that's a great snipe right there. He needs to keep these tanks higher health, so I'd love to see more SCVs come down. But yeah, the Wraith can eventually help him to push through here, but he keeps taking damage on his tanks.
Yeah, yeah, looks like the barracks is going to fall here, but there is a Wraith to spot. And I got to say, I'm kind of impressed. I really thought this game was nearly over, but it looks like the last one's killed off there. Should Royal have just sent more SCVs? Looks like he's kind of doing it almost as an afterthought, but I guess the play probably would have been to just send more worker down here and repair and kind of fortify the position, because over time you could see that he kind of deteriorated what he was able to do.
Yeah, he certainly did make a mistake here. Now Rush is instantly pushing out, really capitalizing upon this mistake. He gets rid of all the tanks, and that's pretty big right there. But he did definitely take damage from this push. We're on 2-fact versus 2-fact, but there's also a starport for Rush. And don't forget that one of Royal's factories is really close by, which means that he may be forced to lift that and lose a lot of production time. So this is turning from a position that I thought Royal had pretty much won into it's kind of been busted wide open. And what you were talking about before there, Tastosis, it's like a really important thing. He lost his SCVs and he never brought new ones down to repair his tanks. Like, you really need to stay on top of keeping your tanks at high health. And you also need to move them so they're all going to shoot at the same time against incoming tanks. And he kind of was sloppy in those regards. There might be a little bit of nerves going on for Royal.
Yeah, it's always a frustrating thing when you kind of have a very winning position and they fight back, especially in the start of a series like that. Like, that can be kind of stressful. You know, you're like, oh man, I sort of had this, and he's still kind of pushing back out. That being said, it is a contained 2-base to 2-base here. It's not exactly like Rush has been able to kind of fight to get his second base back without some serious losses over here. But the rest of this game, while they're still on 2 bases, it's going to be very important for Royal to, Rush to play this out correctly. Royal as well. Although, you know, as we see here, Rush is kind of siege shoving, if you will, and coming out and picking off tanks. And, you know, one of these factories for Royal is in the center bottom. So, like, that's a lot of infrastructure that's kind of poking out here that could be hit later on.
Ooh, that was kind of a big deal that he got that little scan off there and busted the rest of those tanks, Royal did, because Wraith tank busts through tank Goliath. Like, you just get better vision with the Wraiths in the air than the Goliath on the ground trying to push them back. So you see Rush is starting to dismantle this, and there's nothing really behind it for Royal. I think that's a big takeaway here, right? Like, once he breaks out, it's not like there's a bunch of tanks at home for Royal. What you see is what you get.
Right. Look at this. This is an interesting spot to expand to. An unlikely spot for an SCV to scout. So, I mean, you can kind of feel the desperation here with Royal. But, I mean, at this point in time, it's almost like Royal has fed into Rush. And having a factory with an add-on down here at 6 o'clock, I mean, this isn't going to be helpful. He needs to get these tanks back over here. The game is now seesawed to the point where it's going to be Rush on the offense here, coming in, actually able to intercept this group of units that was coming back, even clipping that tank there on the way back.
Dude, Royal's in some serious trouble now. This is so funny how quickly it can turn around if you mismanage a push like that. You know, Royal does have like a very healthy amount of SCVs. He hasn't actually taken real economic damage himself. It's just he's lost a lot of tanks, and he is adding more factories in his main base, but he doesn't have the same tools that Rush has at this point, right? Like, Rush having that starport and having a Wraith out is such a big deal because it just does better spotting than anything else.
Yeah, snipes that tank there. Beautifully done here by Rush. You can see Royal scrambling to try to get more tanks up here, finish up the upgrades to try to combat this. And kind of a cool wraparound here from Rush. You know, he knows that basically, you know, it's much less about controlling the bottom and more about kind of controlling the upper left side over here, because that's the only place Terran could expand. I mean, realistically, Royal's not going to take the 3 o'clock base, right? So it's more important to try to control these 2 roads that are over here. Although, as I say that, it looks like he's staying pretty fluid. He's going to maneuver back down towards the center of the map.
He lost that Wraith. He was actually a little bit sloppy there, and the Goliaths ended up picking off the Wraith, and 2 tanks rallied up in kind of a bad position, and Royal got some kills there too. So definitely a sloppy first game in a lot of ways. You know, with a rush like that, I guess it kind of forces the game to get a little down and dirty. They don't really have the types of tools that they need to stop these pushes or even make these pushes work with 100%, you know. Both of them operating kind of at half power, considering both of them being on 2 bases.
Yeah, this has been a kind of wild game. And this base over here on the center left, it's becoming more and more of a factor here, because you know, the longer that Royal keeps this, the more misled Rush will be about where he's at economically. And you can lose games, simply put, because of hidden base, because you don't calculate your position correctly. Oh my God, big mine hit there.
That was amazing. He laid the mines and he got out of there when the tanks were coming. So the tanks actually had no idea. Now he runs up, gets a kill off onto the tank that did get damaged, and just kind of laying mines around, scouting what's going on. Very nice usage of vultures, but I feel like Royal right now needs to do something like 2 Starport Wraith. He's got all this extra gas, and you can see his gas bank really growing. Now is not the time for vultures. Even though those seem strong, he needs to spend this gas down now.
What do you think about the command center at the mineral only?
I think that this is him trying to make everything look normal, to be honest.
Oh, so it's more of a facade than anything? Like, oh, look, I've got this base. I don't have another gas.
Well, if he's not taking another base right now, you're really wondering, like, what the hell is he doing? Because, like, he's not pushing. So if he's not pushing, he's not expanding, something's wrong.
I might not understand the matchup that well, so I'm just going to ask outright. I mean, you only want to take gas bases in TVT, is that correct?
No, mineral bases are okay. If you take a mineral base as your 3rd base or your 4th base, it's still pretty useful because you're still in the phase where you're going to make vultures. Later on in the game, though, they're almost worthless. It's like late game, all they do is pay for missile turrets.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I was just curious about that. You know, I feel like, you know, obviously it's kind of always better to just get a gas base, but, you know, sometimes certain situations it's like, well, I just need anything right now.
Yeah. Well, right now there is a dropship going in the main base. Goliath put a couple hits on it, but not all the way. Whoa, that is a huge arc of siege tanks here for Royal, and he is going to eliminate a bunch of the tanks here of Rush. But there is the drop going off. He's going to end up losing it all, but you know what? He saw 2 starports with this drop, and he sees Cloak on the way. And that's really important stuff. Like, this, I think, is exactly what you should be doing anyways, so it's a little bit predictable in that regard. Well, actually, I guess not now that I think about it, because Rush doesn't know about that extra gas base, right? So Rush may look at this and say, oh, you're a little bit desperate, because if you go Cloak 2-port Wraith on 2 gas, it's kind of a newbie move.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, because you just don't quite have enough gas to support anything else. But the reality is he's actually going to, you know, have much cleaner production here. And this may kind of pressure Royal into, you know, if he sees that this appears to be kind of a misplay, that there's going to be a financial imbalance as far as like what you can afford to get. Yeah, maybe he feels pressured to then kind of come in here and take the space. And, you know, feels like about one in every maybe one season of ASL, we always end up with at least one hidden base that wins the game. It seems like this is going to happen. And this will happen to you in ladder games as well. I mean, you really see this at every level of play. By the way, the center left base, one of the reasons why that's probably the best hidden base is in games where things are going too quickly, and let's say you had to have like one Vulture Scout, you might shift-click to the top left and then to the bottom left. Because you would have scouted about 4 or 5 bases that way. And
that's a base you haven't seen yet. You might actually just miss it, too. Even if you try to shift-click it, you might not click it correctly.
Yeah, the center left, it's funny, center left, anywhere that's not in an exact corner, it's kind of hard to click at because the mini-map is black in the game. It's all blacked out. And so it's not like in StarCraft 2 where you actually see the whole structure of the map. Even if you don't have vision of it, it kind of shows you the map. Here it's totally blacked out. So there's a lot of moments where you might misclick it. So that is literally the best hiding spot for these positions in this matchup on the map.
Yeah, it's a fantastic hiding spot for sure. And like with the amount of tanks that have been showing up and now the Wraiths coming in, we might get Rush scouting the map soon, because I think at this point your gut is telling you something is wrong. How does he have this much? It doesn't really make sense, and the answer has to be a hidden expansion.
Yeah, it's going to be heartbreaking if he manages to find it, right before this game ends. Again, though, I don't want to say that Rush is not capable of winning this game, but this position is getting more and more daunting the longer that base is up. I mean, keep in mind, it is possible in this game he just mines that base out. That has happened too, where you scout an empty base with just a command center, and you go, oh god. And you can see, Royal's kind of doing a good job of obfuscating this position. He's probably going to run somewhere else with these vultures to try to kind of create a deterrent, a bit of a distraction here.
And still,
again,
he doesn't
so
scout
close.
it, man. That's such a big deal right now. Like, seriously, think of how much he's mined from there and how close the game still is. It's crazy to watch the game turn on its head so heavily due to this one hidden expansion. But you know what? I feel like Royal is playing very, very intelligently. He is definitely taking that risk. It is much more than paid for itself at this point. But still, Rush controls the center. And this is such a big part of Terran vs. Terran. Controlling the center on any map is incredibly strong.
By the way, it seems like Royal's going to potentially break out, or at least get control of this plateau that is sort of a focal point here of the control in the upper right. The Wraiths are still doing a lot of damage down here. By the way, there is sort of a cue for when you want to hide a base. For those of you that are watching, it's not like you just kind of go, well, this game I'm going to hide a base. Not usually, although we did see Flash do that once to win in a PvP. But normally, you decide to hide a base when you get behind in a very specific way, and it's usually a positional one. And in this case, you can see that in this game, basically Rush got the positional advantage in the mid game, and so what happened is that Royal threw this base in the center left and is just continuing to fight out as much as possible. And it's really keeping Royal distracted. A lot of times when you end up in like positions where you've contained your opponent, and it shouldn't be this way because it's an easy thing to fix to just go scout while you're doing it. But a lot of times people just get blind spots on the map because they're so hyper-focused in trying to contain the opponent.
Yeah, I think any game that is messy, it's fantastic to do on, because it's hard to tell where your opponent is at and where you're at in any game that was kind of weird in the early game like this one was, right? All that rushing, all those units dying, the lateness of the expansions, it's a lot harder to look somewhere and be like, oh yeah, something's missing. Whereas if it's the same build that you always use and they always use, you're going to instantly be able to tell like, hey, you're missing stuff. Let's go look.
Yeah, games that have had a lot of interaction and a lot of units killed, it can be very unclear, even to the best players, sort of where exactly everybody's at. Where if you get a game where it's, like these Protoss versus Terrans, where like they basically don't engage with each other for the first 10 minutes at all, other than like a Dragoon attacking a bunker or maybe a Vulture tries to run into the main. Those games, it's very obvious, even to lower-ranked players, kind of where they both should be at. But again, just sort of a brilliant game here. I know we're really talking about this hidden base, but that really is kind of the big theme here. By the way, Royal growing now into the upper left.
Yeah, Royal is being almost wasteful. Yeah, that's the only place that hasn't been scouted. Rush, are you going to scout it? No, that was a shift click, Tastosis. That was a shift click. He shift clicked to scout 9 o'clock and then up. So he is trying to scout, but that's what we were talking about. You're doing it really quickly, and it's very easy to miss those side bases. So
by the way,
a mistake.
I just learned something. Sorry, Tastosis, I didn't mean to run over you here. I just learned something that's kind of cool that it made sense the moment I saw it, but it had never occurred to me, is that Royal only has one SCV mining at each mineral patch for the hidden base.
Ah, yeah, that makes
because anything else
sense.
would probably be excessive, right? Like, you don't need to super saturate that. The moment that's found, you just lift off and run the SCVs away. But one SCV mining each mineral patch is good enough, right?
Well, that's like your highest
kind of
income is right then.
Right. Yeah, everything after that, it's like you get a little bit more, but not not
yeah,
+1 for
it
the
scales
SCV.
down slowly there. But yeah, no, that's fascinating. Actually, I hadn't thought of that. But look, I got to say, I love the way that this game is being played. In fact, I think he just... Oh, dude. He just sent SCVs to mine at one of his new bases, and they tried to return minerals to the closest command center, which was 9.
No, I was so confused what happened. I'm like,
Yeah.
that can't be. We just talked about how there was the right number of SCVs.
Yeah.
He sent the SCVs too soon, and it could have been a giveaway. Oh my God, he almost blew his cover.
Crazy stuff that's going on in this game, man. And another thing I want to mention is like how crazy aggressive Royal has been. He's been a little bit cost inefficient a lot and expanding really quickly now. So he's really building upon this advantage that he got early on by just kind of being everywhere, breaking positions. He's dropping all over the place. I got to tell you, I'm very, very impressed with Royal here. He is just showing a lot of intelligence and a lot of speed.
Yeah, big drops, by the way, coming here into the main. I feel like Rush is almost out of range at this point in time of winning this game. Royal's actually looking really scary. I mean, even though he like had the game won at the start and didn't get the closer, like he's big braining this hard.
Yeah.
Already controlling the center right here too. I mean, it's actually crazy. Like Royal has both hidden the base and now completely outgrown Rush. Now just dumping units into the main, kind of forcing Rush to almost implode his position.
I tell you, this is so incredibly impressive as a Terran player to watch this because, yeah, it felt like he should have won, and then he kind of messed it up, but everything he's done since there has been so intelligent and so well executed. Like, the way he's flying around right now, just applying this pressure while he took 2 more bases in the top left, the speed of all of his expansions, the hidden base, which we've already talked about enough, like, everything I'm watching here, like, I want to change my bet. I was saying I was favoring Rush, but watching this first game, even with a few small errors in the beginning, I feel like Royal is just GG. I'm playing amazingly.
He looked so strong. He, like, had won the game at the start, lost control of that, made, I think, in a short window of time, a very calculated decision to basically bet on the hidden base, and that's exactly how you come back in moments like that.
Yes.
Again, almost never do you premeditate a hidden base. It's, oh, this game was won, and then it wasn't, and I either try to play straight up from behind, or I roll the dice and leave it up to Rush. Is he going to do proper scouting? I'll tell you what, man, ASL Finals, a lot of pressure. We saw some misclicks, and I don't believe that base was ever actually seen. So I hope for Rush's sake he goes into the replay, because he may be entering Game 2 with the wrong data set and be confused about that. So, you know, there's no way for us to know if he's going to look at the replay. But
he's looking at it right now, man. Look at those eyes darting around. 100% he's looking at that and saying, oh my God, I can't believe it. Because he broke out of that crazy push at his natural. He got those extra kills. He actually got into a good position containment-wise, had the high ground. If he had found that base, he was going to close in real quick on Royal.
All right, guys, we're going to go to game number 2 here in this best of 7 on Neo Arkanoid, the weird map. We will be right back.
김지성 선수와 유영진 선수가 함께 그리는 인생 그래프 한번 이야기를 나눠보도록 하겠습니다. 어서 오세요. 어서 오세요. 선수 다 4강에서 7곽을 하고 올라온 선수들이거든요. 결승전도 태태전 7곽 예상하나요?
그러긴 싫은데
싫다.
이번 시즌 뭔가 8강부터 대강 많이 갈 것 같기도 하고
저는 16강 때부터 제일 마지막에 올라왔거든요. 계속 꽉으로. 그래서 결승은 꽉 안 갈 것 같아요. 이 친구는 좀 더 빨리 끝낼 수 있을 것 같아요.
그리고 유영진 선수가 좀 빨리 끝내는 테란 이미지를 좀 갖고 싶어하는 것 같더라고요.
이번 시즌 빨리 끝내기로는 제가 더 유명하거든요. 그렇죠. 태태전도 근데 빨리 끝낼 수 있고 영진이 형 단순하잖아요.
저 친구는 좀 야비해요.
야비하고 너무 화기애애. 아니 무슨 예능 토크쇼 같아. 결승에 올라온 선수들만 할 수 있는 이 특권 인생 그래프.
본인의 인생 전반을 아우르는 희노애라 그래프를 좀 그려볼 텐데 포인트를 찍어가면서 그래프를 좀 그려주시면 될 것 같습니다. 일단 김지성 선수의 인생 그래프부터 한번 저희가 쭉 살펴보도록 하겠습니다. 일단 굉장히 어린 나이에 프로게이머 치고 굴곡이 좀 많은 느낌이 일단 들거든요. 17살.
그때가 이제 제 인생의 시작이었던 것 같아요. 최고의 팀 T1에 이제 들어가게 되면 뭐 도택혁명 이렇게 엄청 유명할 때였거든요. 저 사람들도 함께 나란히 할 수 있을까 기대를 했지만 현실은 쉽지 않더라고요.
도택혁명 집까지 좀 이어졌어야 되는데 무슨 내리막이에요.
내려옵니다. 프로게이머 은퇴 위기.
스타2를 하던 시절이었는데 하도 성적이 안 나오다 보니까 권유를 하셨어요. 이대로는 뭔가 포기를 못 하겠더라고요. 다시 마음을 먹고 했는데 갑자기 게임 실력이 늘더라고요.
올라갑니다. 스타2 프로리그 결승 때까지도 사실 이 제로에 수령하고 있거든요. 일단은
드디어 프로리그 결승 무대에 나도 뛰는구나 하고 정말 졌어요. 무참히 졌던 기억이 납니다.
결승전에
이번에도 질 텐데.
결승 패배.
그래서 그때 당시에 다시 나락으로
다시
떨어져요.
내려와요.
승이 이제 마지막으로 스타2 프로리그가 없어지고 팀이 해체되면서 제가 좀 은퇴를 하게 됐어요. 공부를 조금 하다가 우연히 ASL을 봤어요. 저의 SKT 동기였던 이몽규 선수가 ASL 4강을 갔어요. 저 형이 4강을 가? 저랑 같이 설거지나 하던 형이 갑자기 저도 스타를 다시 해보고 싶더라고요.
마음의 불꽃이. 이 골짜기에서 김지성 선수를 건져 올린 게 바로 이몽규 선수였군요. 훈련의 시간을 거쳐 결국에는 ASL 첫 진출을 이뤄냅니다. 뭔가 혈이 좀 뚫린 느낌이었을 것 같아요.
게임 인생이
시작됐다. 근데 여기 그래프에는 이렇게 올라갔다고 써있지만 사실 여기에서 얼마나 많은 또 좌절과 희열과 많은 것들을 느끼셨을까요? 그죠?
온라인에서 성적이 슬슬 나온다고 사람들이 기대해주고 그랬는데 항상 광탈을 폈었거든요. 저기에 빠져있는데 이번 연도에 ASL을 우승
맞아요.
시즌3.
네, 올킬로죠.
딱 저 때 이런 생각 딱 들었어요. 이제 내 시대에 올라가고 있는 건가? 그런 생각을 했었는데 다음 시즌 ASL 강탈을 해버렸어요. 저 때 좀 좌절 많이 했어요. 안 되나 싶었는데 다시 또 폼이 이게 올라오더라고요.
그러니까 무슨 얘기가 있었길래 이번에
입학을 하면서 그 전보다 팬들도 되게 많아지고 경기력으로 더 보여주고 싶다는 생각도 들고
그리고 나서 이제 우승까지 가면 이제
김지성 선수 인생의 지금 최정점이에요.
완전 플러스 위까지 갔어요. 우승까지 차지한다면.
우승까지 차지한다면.
근데 그 이유는 바로 나락이에요.
깊이 내려왔어요. 깊이.
아직 미필.
아직 오지 않았는데 미래가 골짜기야 일단.
여기까지 내려가야 돼.
경상 여기까지. 너무 조금 내려왔나요?
내려간 게 아니에요.
자, 제대 후에 다시 올라갑니다. 2회 우승.
많은 선수들이 나이가 좀 있어요. 제가 제대를 해도 제가 젊은
난 젊어.
전성기죠, 제 인생에.
제 전성기라고.
사랑도 많이 받고 수익도 괜찮고 그리고 상대도 유영진이고. 이제는 올라갈 수 있는 그런 환경까지.
근데 이번 시즌 진짜 내진훈이 괜찮은 것 같아요.
진짜 와.
유영진 선수의 그래프 한번 만나보도록 하겠습니다. 16살 때를 가장 처음으로 작성을 해주셨어요.
프로게이머를 처음 도전했던 시기였는데
재능이 없었던 것 같다라고 생각을 하셨어요?
커레이지 매칭의 중프로 따는 대회를 다들 어느 정도 재능이 있기 때문에 5번, 6번 나가면 따고 그러거든요. 저는 근데 진짜 너무 못해가지고 20번을 2년 동안 겨우 도전해가지고 겨우겨우 땄죠. 이때가 좀 힘들었고
20대 끝자락에 데뷔를 하셨습니다.
팀에 들어간 거죠.
네.
그래서 이제 연습만 도와줬어요.
3년.
네, 거의 3년 동안
3년.
연도기 생활을 하다가 데뷔전을 치렀죠. 이때가 상대 김민철 선수였고 좀 잘할 때 데뷔전 나가서 이겼는데 S를 받았어요.
우와, 3년의 기다림 끝에 데뷔를 치렀는데 S.
그날 애결까지 즉흥으로 나가게 됐어요. 보니까 팔렸어. 명훈이 형한테.
김명훈 선수 때문에.
제 인생이 좀 망가졌죠. 스타2 이제 넘어가는 시기에 적응을 좀 못했어요. 동변을 한번 했어요, 적으로. 토요일에 적으로 한번 랭킹전을 하고 일요일에 테란으로 한번 랭킹전을 했어요. 둘 다 전체 꼴등.
아이고.
은퇴.
바로 은퇴.
네, 안 될 것 같아서 바로 은퇴했는데
은퇴.
거기서 이제 악마의 속삭임 한두열이라는 친구가 있어요.
한두열.
우리 이제 같이 롤프로 게임을 해보자. 혹했어요. 그것도 쟤는 없는 거 알고 들이댔어요.
네.
인천에 오피스텔 하나 구해가지고
네.
페인 생활을 했죠. 안 됐어요.
안 됐어요.
군대를 갔죠.
그럼
1년 반의 생활을
오피스텔에서 하고
인천에서의
그쵸. 상병 됐을 때쯤에 정우 형이 권유를 했어요. 한번 해봐라. 가평에서 나중에 자전거 대여해주는 일을 할 거다 라고 하길래 제가 조현아 같이 BJ나 하자. BJ랑 같이 하게 됐어요. 저녁을 9월 1일인가에 했어요. 9월 2일에 반계약을 하고 9월 3일에 방송을 시작. 바로 했죠. 근데 10,600짜리.
이 별명을 연보성 선수가 지어줬다고 들었어요?
저라는 BJ를 보성형은 알고 있는데 철구님은 모를 때 보성형이 한 게임 하라고 한 거죠. 철구님이랑 저랑. 아 뭐 얘랑 왜 하냐고 하시니까 얘 반찬이
10개인데 시청자가 6명이야.
한 게임 해줘라 이러면서 해가지고 그때 탄생한 게 이 별명이거든요.
그 밈이 엄청났어요. 네, 강타했어요.
진짜 너무
모르는
감사해요.
사람이 없어, 모르는 사람이요.
보성형 너무 감사해요. 그래서 ASL 나가도 예선은 뚫는데
그저 그런.
네,
그저 그런 시기. 이게 한 시즌 9까지는 약간 잘 안 풀렸던 시기로 제가 기억을 하거든요.
맞아요.
네.
게임 많이 하고 나쁜 습관도 되게 많았어요. 되게 쉬려고 노력하고 딱 겹쳤죠. 결혼을 하는 시기와 네, 아기가 태어나면서 바로 결승을 올라갔어요.
결혼
네.
축복이네.
사실 이 10,600달이 이때 이후에 내리막이 없어요.
반찬 없었으면 못했을 거예요.
내리막이 없어요.
좀 반찬해줬으면 지금 유영진 없어요.
두 번째 결승.
네, 이거는 이제 완전 올라간 이유가 수입도 두세 배로 늘었고.
우와, 언제보다?
이때보다 지금 두 배,
첫 결승보다?
네.
이때보다는 한 20배? 이때보다는.
아니, 20배가 아니죠.
100배.
와, 아, 비교 안 돼. 한 100배.
100배, 와.
노력의 아이콘. 그 노력이 사랑으로 거듭나고 사랑이 또 이제 가정으로 이어나서 현재 수입이 무려 100배.
아, 확실한 보상.
지성이는 사랑이 없어서 안 돼.
없다.
사랑이 아니.
안 돼.
자, 두 분의 공통점 뭐냐면 ASL이 인생을 바꿨다.
맞습니다.
정말 ASL이 꾸준히 이어지니까 거기서 동기부여가 돼서 이거 진짜 영화 한 편 본 느낌이에요.
진짜 영화 한 편 본 것 같아요.
어떻게 인생의 또 기로 중에 하나예요. 어떤 모습을 보여주게 될지 미래에 대해서.
모든 걸 안 쏟아부은 기분이었어요. 이번에는 우승할 수 있을 것 같아요. 자신감이 있어요. 지금.
한 10년 전부터 꿈꿔왔던 무대인데 이 기회를 꼭 잡고 싶고 영진이 형 준우승 한 번 더 해야 될 것 같아요. 이번에는.
첫 트로피를 걸고 펼치는 두 선수의 멋진 승부 기대하도록 하겠습니다.
화이팅해요.
What's up, everybody? ASL returns here in the grand finals of Rush versus Royal. We literally spent the whole break talking about how smart Royal is, how scary he looks as a player, and we can't get over the little educational piece. I don't know about you guys at home, but we certainly got, which is you just make one SCV or one worker at each patch of a hidden base like that. I guess it only pertains to Terran and Protoss, really, but it's like, wow. Like, both Tastosis and I were talking about how we just be robots and keep making workers and not really think about, like, something as nuanced as that, where, like, you look at that and you go, oh, no, that's exactly how to do it. By the way, just to clear this up, because I don't know, you know, we have a lot of StarCraft 2 people watching. StarCraft 2, you can have 2 workers per patch, and they'll swap out evenly. StarCraft 1, it's a lot more complicated in that it's exactly less than 1 worker or how I say this.
1 worker per patch is like very 100% optimization on every SCV.
Yes, and it's still worth it to make more workers at other mineral patches because they'll ping pong around and eventually catch on and cling on to the minerals when they're not being mined. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just crazy when you see something like that. You go, oh God, you're just on another level.
Yeah. Super saturation means a lot more in StarCraft 1 than StarCraft 2, but that did look like a very high, big brain move there from Royal, because anytime you're starting to cut workers, you can afford all sorts of other things. And he made the rest of his game look completely normal. So Royal just never caught. I mean, Rush never caught on. So now we go to Royal's map pick, which is going to be Neo Arkanoid. And this is the really crazy map, and he picked it first. So he has something prepped that's insane. On Rush's side, I have no idea what he's going to be doing here.
All right, guys, we're ready to go into game 2 here. Good luck, Rush. Right now, Royal looking scary and very much in control of this matchup. Let's see what happens on the weirdest map we've got in the lineup of the ASL Finals.
So in the top left, we have Royal. And in the top right, we have Rush. All right, okay. So my thoughts on this map, Tasteless, okay? So first off, Marines are terrible in TVT. They're so bad. They're garbage. So like, I don't think it's going to be anything Marine-focused. Command Center First is the obvious choice here. Like, Command Center First holds, like, that all-in that we just saw from Royal in the beginning of the game, it holds even that reasonably well. Like, Command Center First holds everything except Center Barracks. It's, like, the best build as long as you're not being Marine Rush, and Marines are terrible otherwise, right? So that's kind of the weird rock, paper, scissors that exists. So it's hard to imagine any prep other than Command Center First, but here we have Royal not making a depot. So it's going to be like a 10-10-10.
So, to be honest, as a layman of the matchup, like, what does that mean when you say it's going to be a 10-10-10? Like, so what?
Yeah.
What do we want to look for?
Okay, so it's 10 depot, 10 barracks, 10 gas. And the thing is, if you're going to get that all at the same time, you can't afford another SCV anyways, so you just skip the depot until later, right? So the depot will finish at the same time you have 50 minerals for the next SCV. But what this does is it gets you your factory much, much faster. Okay, like, this is going to be like 15 seconds faster at least than we normally see for a factory. And, I mean, the thing is, I don't know how he'll follow up with that. Like, if this was a regular map, I would be like, yeah, the Vulture's going to get out before his opponent's Vulture. Maybe it's a 2-factory, and so they have 3 Vultures when his opponent has 1 Vulture, that type of thing. Here, I don't know what the plan is for Royal.
Yeah, well, you know, an earlier factory can also mean an earlier starport, right? I mean, that is the tech tree to getting what you need. By the way, over here for Rush, it could not be more different. Going for a macro fast expand play. By the way, I gotta say, kind of ballsy, kind of crazy when you consider that this is Royal's first pick for the map. And
yeah, I
mean, I think that it's fair to say that if you see somebody pick this map first, by the way, nice glitch with the SCV through the temple there, you kind of know that it's probably more than likely that if Royal picked this map first, he's not going Command Center First on it. He's probably going to do something kind of aggressive, right?
Yeah.
And so we see it's going to be a double factory here. So maybe a Goliath push or a tank push through the middle. I'm not totally sure.
It's so hard to tell. Like, it's crazy because the factory is 15 seconds quicker than a normal factory.
Right.
And then he's going 2-fact. There's all these buildings you need to kill. Is he going to put down a starport? I have no idea what's going on, man.
Yeah, this is, I mean, we're going to have an explosive point here in a couple minutes, no doubt, because what Royal's doing, you can't sit back and kind of try to develop. Like, he's trying to come in there, and, you know, we've had a lot of games like this. I feel like in pretty much every matchup we've casted where one race tries to basically, you know, tear down the middle of the map and turn this from an island map into a ground map and try to push. Funnily enough, if we start to see tanks come out, Royal is kind of just doing what he did in Game 1.
Yeah, you're right.
It's actually,
you are correct on this.
I mean, it's a little bit of a different build, but it's basically just 2 factories and tanks, I think. I mean, if you have 2 add-ons being made, that basically says that you wanted to get at least 3 tanks at the start of the game.
You're certainly right about that. It is going to be siege tanks. On Rush's side, he's gone 2-factory. If he just goes siege... thing is, it's hard to say what he's going to do because they don't know what each other are doing here.
Right.
I think Royal has a much better idea of what Rush is doing than Rush has of Royal because, like I was mentioning, Command Center First is the obvious choice for builds here.
Right.
And, like, I mean, if he just rolls in with a bunch of siege tanks and there's no siege mode for Rush, there is a possibility that he just kills him.
You know, it's kind of eerie almost. Because, you know, we always try to kind of lay out, you know, what we suspect the game could look like. And, you know, sometimes we're right and sometimes we're wrong, which is fine, right? Like, it can be exciting to see, you know, exactly how they're going to play this. But Rush, we talked about how he's probably going to be pretty textbook. This is almost maybe too textbook for a map like this. Like, this is literally the dream right now for Royal. Is like, oh, you're going to fast expand because we're not connected by land.
Now, he sees this pretty early. This was a smart move to put an SCV out there because it looks like he was suspecting it might be something crazy like this. Already there's 5 tanks out. He's only got 1. He's making a bunker to just slow down this incoming push. And, like, obviously he's getting siege mode. So the question is, can he get enough siege tanks that he doesn't get busted here?
By the way, siege tanks actually deal damage over time faster, not in siege mode. It's just not splash damage.
Actually, that's only in StarCraft 2. In StarCraft 1, they deal faster.
Oh, I'm
in siege.
sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, good correction. My bad. So a siege tank in siege mode would kill these faster, but I guess you'd have to unsiege and all that.
The siege unsiege, it's better to just kill it like this. Okay, so he's going to go up and just take hits. He does not even care here. But look at this, 3 tanks plus SCVs. I like Rush here. He's going to kill this, I think. But wait, there are more vultures coming out. Maybe the vultures can make the difference.
Yeah, I think the vultures can just run by. I've never quite seen a little TVT fight like this. By the way, that bunker is going to burn down, man. He needs to like actually repair that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. He should, and he gets siege mode here. So those tanks, yeah, he's going to start pelting them a bit more. And with the re-wall and Marines in bunkers and 2 more tanks popping out, I think Royals Rush is going to be held, Tasteless.
That was a mouthful there. Royals Rush is going to be held. Yeah, I mean, I think Rush is going to hold.
Rush going to hold Royals Rush.
Yeah, Rush Royal, Artosis. No, this I think has been held. And I got to say, props to Royal here. Let's see if I'm sorry, to Rush here. Now I'm getting tied up. Yeah, I was about to say, let's see if he taps out or tries to play it out. And pretty impressive shutdown there. Nicely done.
That was not what I expected. Like, he went 5 tanks and no siege mode. And his entire idea was to break in, I think, and just flood vultures.
Yeah, I thought we were going to have siege mode there. Although I will say, I think the strategy's pretty cool. Like, I actually really like it.
Yeah.
I almost feel like I watched that game and, like, if I had to play Terran on that map, I'd be trying Royal strategy instead of Rush.
Sure.
Even though Rush holds.
Yeah.
But I mean, good for Rush, man. He survives that. He shuts it down. Again, we're seeing a lot of ingenuity, though, here from Royal. Again, standard play. Again, neither one is necessarily better than the other. I think a lot of times in RTS, we have one guy who's really playing outside the box, and we go, wow, that's so great. But, you know, sometimes standard play is really the better way to go. But anyways, man, I mean, this has just been a crazy series.
It really has so far. Now 2 factories, two factory builds in a row here for Royal. Rush, you know, he actually held the 2 factories both times. Of course, he lost game 1, but game 2, that was some quick thinking to wall that off instead. Because I think actually, if like 2 to 4 more vultures get in, his SCVs evaporate, and then the tanks kill everything. You know, like he needed to do that. So that was a very smart, very well done move from him. And now we're going back to another completely standard map in Vermeer.
Vermeer, where Game 3 is going to be settled. We're going to find out who's now going to take the lead in this best of 7. Royal vs. Rush continuing on here in the ASL Finals.
I never back down. Give me the crown.
So in the top right, we have Royal. Top left, we have Rush. So far, they've won on each other's maps. Kind of interesting when you see things like that occur.
Yeah, the maps you pick or the maps you lose on, apparently. This is Rush's pick this time around. We should note that, you know, on Allegro, which is, I think, along with this map, probably the most straightforward. Oh, look, it's best.
Yeah. Big fans, all the StarCraft pros, watching some TVT action, man. Giving some respect to these guys.
By the way, it is interesting to just sort of see the way that this game has changed as a kind of community and spectator sport in Korea.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are always like, I wish they brought Pro League back. We need to have players in houses and, you know, team houses like that. It's like, I think people that, like, really think that could come back or want that to come back are very naive.
Yeah.
I think that people don't understand what it is like living in a house with 15 other guys in bunk beds. And, like, maybe that idea sounds cool and appealing to you, but, you know.
There's a certain romanticism about it, but I lived like that for over a year, and it was it's not optimal. It's not.
No,
optimal.
I mean, I had fun in college sharing, you know, a bunk bed in a dorm, but, like, you know, will I ever go back to that? No. You know what I mean? But, you know, now we have, you know, the players all streaming and a lot of them getting good revenue off of the streams. It's kind of opened the game up to everybody to watch in the game. It's no longer like this kind of sealed ivory tower that you can't get into and you can't get access to, and it's all opaque and everything like that. Instead, like, you can talk to the pros in chat rooms. You can, if you want to support them directly, you can. And now we have, you know, them kind of coming down as a community and as friends to watch in the audience, which I think is very cool.
Yeah,
you know, you never really in back in the day saw active pros in the audience, right?
Only teammates, right? Like that's
only teammates.
That's all you
that's right. And so I don't know. I like that, and I really think, you know, with streaming the way it is now, this is really the best thing that ever happened in gaming. You know, since games came out, is now you can connect with people and you can support them directly. And I can tell you now, the pros are a lot happier with this situation and kind of this lifestyle and this way of doing it, you know, and it being more community supported. So I just wanted to point that out before this game picks up.
Yeah, definitely do agree there. Now, taking a look at the builds, it is a gasless expansion once again from Rush, but it's a forward 11 racks. So we're going to see if he's going for the 3 Marine variant. This is actually a brand new opener in TBT, where you go 3 Marines, but also that quick factory. So he's going to be able to put a bit of pressure on as his SCV comes up. He did already take damage on the first Marine, so that's a little bit painful. That's going to make it a bit easier here for Rush to hold. Rush, I think, needs to pull 1 more SCV. No, I guess he's got it. I guess he's got the hold there. And he is going to finish up that bunker and be able to load it up, but he does not have a factory started yet, so that is going to be a bit later.
Yeah, the CC is going to be later, and the Marines were driven away here. So the command center is going to start now for Royal. Again, Royal always seems to want to be active, by the way. Something kind of important to note. It's Rush that's like, you know, trying to play a bit more, I guess you could say, proper. Trying to just, you know, do what is common in pretty much every RTS, which is get your first new base up as quickly as possible. Secure that, and then try to make decisions. Where really Royal wants to try to engage with the opponent right at the beginning of the game. Every game so far.
So far, yeah. Like he's really looking for play, and it's such an interesting thing to see, because Rush is just kind of focusing on executing one of these very strong, quick expansion builds. The fact that he's already done this twice is interesting in and of itself, because you saw on Allegro, right? Like Royal scouted it first on Allegro, and you saw the power that he had to shut it down, and he could have won that game very quickly. He didn't end up doing so, but that's the type of thing you are risking a little bit as Rush. But you look at a game like this where Royal's going to scout you, you know, a little bit later, and suddenly you just have a bigger economy than your opponent.
Yeah, it's just that simple, honestly. By the way, third factory. Is that, I mean, it looks like this should be a Vulture arms race then here, at least from the direction of Rush, right?
Yes, for sure we're going to see that from Rush. Royal could go third factory if he wants. Like, he's already getting an upgrade, so I think he might. Nope, second gas, so he's gonna switch it up. Oh, he cancels the gas. Okay, so it is probably going to be that third factory then. If you get the second gas, you can't, like, it just doesn't fit with Vulture. But if that turns into Vultures versus Vultures, Rush is slightly advantaged there because he's getting his 3 factories up quicker. And we just saw Rush throw down an armory as well. So he's a little bit nervous about the possibility of Wraiths coming out of Royal.
Yeah, he just wants to be able to have a response for that. We're seeing the tanks, 2 of them actually, collect up over here near the entrance. And does he want to try to bust the bunker here?
Yeah, he's going to put some heavy pressure on. He wants his tanks to be a big part of the fight here against the Vultures. Oh, you got siege mode. That's what was going on. Oh, my God. I thought it was going to be Vulture speed. Never mind. Okay, so Royal's in a great spot now. Having 2 tanks siege, he has 3 Marines behind, and Vultures rallying. You have to pull, like, all your SCVs at your natural here to try to bust this, and he lands the barracks. A beautiful move.
It just barely not supply blocked right now as Rush. Another depot finish somewhere else on the map. But if he can edge these tanks in a little bit further, you're going to have to lift the command center off.
Yeah. Well, he's going to have to bring everything in, Tasteless. He's got 1 tank on high ground. This is so annoying. Royal is in such a good spot. This is all on Rush busting this. He has to bust it, and he has to bust it cleanly.
Yeah, this is
dude, I've never seen
really
this.
Bad.
I've never seen this very fast siege into the now 4 factory Vulture follow-up. Fascinating play here out of Royal.
Yeah, again, Royal just really getting in the Terran's face. Now the tanks are going to siege up on the high ground here. They can hit that one tank. He's going to dive on that with the Vultures and come back. I think the CC can be landed now, but a lot of lost time, a lot of lost income here. Keep in mind, it's possible to overextend with Rush's Vultures. It is 4 factory Vulture here from Royal. So Royal comes in, and I think this is always the sign of a good player, is to know when you need to leave, not to overextend. Yeah. And we have 3 SCVs mining that base right now. So, I mean, the income here for Royal is still superior until all those SCVs get, filtered down onto the respective mineral patches they need to mine from.
I'm really getting chills here, Tastosis. Watching Royal play here tonight, like, he is really bringing some new stuff. And we've known for a while that he's kind of the innovator of Terran. But the fact that he went, like, siege into the 3 factory, really, really cool. Now look at this. He's getting a Wraith. That Wraith, like... I'm like going through my brain just trying to figure out like what do all of these different moves mean. It's like, well, he's on Tank Vulture, so probably we'll see Tank Vulture coming out of his opponent as opposed to any Goliath. So if you make 2 or 3 Wraiths here, that could be the difference between breaking a position and not, and maybe even taking the game at that point.
We've seen this in TVT before, but this little staircase up onto this high ground area, very important in TVT. TVP and the other matchups as well, even ZVP. We see a lot of moments where it's like you control this and it's just a headache to try to get around. Yeah. Royal has already preempted any moves here from Rush. And look at how quickly Royal's kind of stretched down to the bottom and laid spider mines. He knows his tank count is low, but he needs to have intel and basically be able to track movement on his side of the map. And the spider mines offer that, as the Vultures are going to glide over that from Rush.
Yeah, that's really, really useful to utilize the spider mines in such a way to just kind of see where your opponent's Vultures are so you can counter them at that point. The Marines get sacrificed into the center there just to see where the mines are at, so he has a good idea of where those start. And now bringing down his own Vultures, which is just a higher number, and eliminating Rushes.
Oh, this might be the biggest moment of the game, actually, because that's like such an effective kill there. I mean, Royal virtually losing nothing. In that process. Supplies now 101 to 69. I mean, just such a massive difference here. And now the freedom that Royal has to kind of roam the map. I mean, this is really scary.
Yeah, and the scan just went down. Yeah, that's such a big deal because those rates were probably going to come after 3. And that means he just has to get a Goliath out. If he doesn't get a Goliath out like right now, you just go up and you click on the tanks with the Wraiths and you're going to break them. That's going to be it. So the Wraith's coming across. A Goliath should be like halfway done right now in one of Rush's factories. And let's see what he gets done with this. Oh, is he skipping the tanks? Look at that.
Oh, this is so annoying. That's not going to finish in time. That's so annoying. It's got like just a second left to finish.
He just comes up and tries to bust this anyways. Doesn't bring every single tank. The Wraith's getting on top of some of these as well. And here comes that first Goliath finally, but plenty of tanks get taken out here.
I gotta say, I feel like Royal might have the best early game TVT. It almost like, I'm more impressed with this than Flash, to be honest. Flash, he has some of the shortest TVTs there is. This is like crazy how good he is at just kind of navigating the game. I mean, he makes it look like the matchup is a lot more fluid than I think a lot of people theorize.
Yeah, well, maybe it is. Maybe he's right. Like, it looks... He might win this ASL, so we kind of have to listen to whatever he was doing at that point. But you're kind of right, Tastosis. It is kind of looking a little bit more fluid. It used to be super fluid, but people got so good at Vultures that it didn't feel like that anymore. And now we're kind of watching Royal with these non-economy openers and not even necessarily getting a lot of damage, but just having very solid follow-ups all over the place. Now look at this, pushing over into this third base location. It does look like he's going to get a bust here.
I mean, this is kind of crazy, dude. If Rush can't get over here in time, I mean, he's going to lose his command center. That's going to be his third gas. You know, the third gas is very important in TVT, as it really lets you kind of get all the upgrades and the factory and Star 4 units you need. Does seem like Rush is fighting back pretty well here. He might have been too close to the left side of that little lake there in the middle.
Yeah, Royal could have done that slightly better, but overall the moves he's making are phenomenal. His macro is pretty on point as well. He's getting a few minerals here. He does have 3 bases, and there's a lot of micro going on. He's trying to manage these little pushes he's doing, but it is almost overwhelming. Rush is barely holding on right now. Like, honestly, watching him lose all these tanks left and right and things go wrong everywhere, it's like what it looks like when I play a pro gamer, Tastosis. It's crazy. I'm just like, yeah, no, the white Terran's way better than the red Terran. That's what we're watching.
Yeah, well, he's just closing in. You know, it's not easy to do on 2 to 3 bases to, like, win these scuffles in the middle of the map. You know, there it is again here from Royal, kind of sending the right number of SCVs out to reinforce this. A 4th base now being taken right at 12 o'clock.
Well, he does control this area, so why not, I guess. And look, he's tightening the noose right now. He's almost got a full contain up. Like, there's a slim area to the south where Rush can still get out with his units, and that's it.
And now he's going to seesaw that back up here. Just 1 tank to try to protect this area. Those spider mines just barely out of range. Oh my god, and probably a vulture drop here in the main.
Yeah, it does look that way. Just more and more damage stacking up here for Rush. Unable to keep up right now. Look at that, 4 vultures into the main. Rush is done, man.
Dude,
this
Royal
was
is, like,
a
so
massive.
good.
This was a massive outplay.
This is insane to me.
This is
He's
insane.
So strong.
He is unbelievable, Tasteless. This is.
I mean, anybody who tells you TVT can't be exciting, I mean, this is an action-packed series, and I mean, Royal kind of changing the way, at least I personally am viewing the matchup. I mean, he just has such a fluid approach, and it does seem like he's kind of punishing the orthodox play here from Royal. It seems like Royal, you know, suddenly in this finals is kind of stuck in the past, you know, some inefficient way of doing things that, you know, Royal had already mapped out a long time ago.
Yeah, Rush. The thing is, I think that Rush's openers are strong. He even got the better end of it, I think, at the very beginning of this game. Like, he got his bunker up in time, didn't take any damage, did the full wall, went 3 factory vulture.
Yeah.
But Royal even, like, just adjusted to what was going on. Like, he got that quick siege mode, and then he's just, I don't know, man. He goes into, like, mass vulture, controls the map, gets 3 wraiths. Like, everything he's done has been amazing, but look, Rush is still fighting on here. He has stabilized that 3rd base at least a little bit. Now trying to push through these tanks.
It does seem like his mines are always just out of range, by the way. It's so funny.
Oh my god. The volleys of Royal. Look at this. He's up 60 supply, man. It's like I'm watching PvT. He's just in his face. He's got more tech. He's got more economy. He's doing everything at once. That's what it is. He's a Protoss player playing Terran right now.
This is crazy to see. And by the way, he's not even spending his money, or he wasn't earlier. I mean, we've seen his money go up, but clearly he knows. You know, it's easy for people that watch to go like, yeah, you didn't spend your money. But, like, the reality is sometimes you have to prioritize, like, attacking or, like, you know, focusing on fights, because that's really what's more important. And we're seeing him win all these fights here, you know.
He's winning everything. Throws down D-Matrix, maybe not the right tank, but does it even matter? GG.
GG.
Wow. Wow.
Man. Dude, I don't think he can be stopped, man.
I don't think he can be stopped either. There is a clear discrepancy in how they're playing. Rush is playing. Like, if you just show me Rush's games, but don't show me Royal's side, I'm like, yeah, he's executing this build very well. This is great. This is one of the strongest builds. And then I'm watching Royal, and he's just peeling it apart. Like, factory expansion, you generally don't like running into what Rush was doing there. You're like, ah, damn, like, his command center's faster. I'm going to be a little bit behind. And then he's just like, yeah, I don't know. I have this weird siege build, and, like, here we go. And he's just in control the whole time.
And keep in mind that the game that Royal lost, it was on a very specific, weird map. It seems like he was really excited to try that strategy out, if anything. You know what I mean? Because he's fine on normal maps here. So let's take a look at what happened back here. Looks like they've chosen this moment where he kind of got up in here. He actually got vultures up at the top that were able to hit the workers on the gas. It's very important there. And then the vulture drop in the main, I mean, he kind of untied the position here that you know, Rush had tried to knot up so that Terran couldn't get in.
Well, he went from like 70 workers, Rush did, and we're looking just how low he got. Look at this. He's like, this is absurd, the amount of damage. There was just too much going on. He didn't realize that there was a vulture drop in his main base, which shows you that, like, this is a 2-time ASL finalist, and he didn't realize that he was losing every SCV in his main. That is how much pressure that was being put upon him.
Damn. I mean, Rush really does look stressed out, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it does feel like he's already boxed in here. He's already caged in.
Yeah.
His play isn't working. I mean, do you really want to try to abandon that and do something else? I don't know. He's got to figure that out over this break, guys. We're going to go to Game 4 on Odyssey. We'll be back in a few.
달달한 충전이 필요할 땐 칸타타.
상큼함 맥스, 칼로리 X, 맛있는 탐스 제로. 요즘 제일 탐나는 제로, 탐스 제로. 같이 떠나볼래?
Yeah, that's actually kind of cool that during the commercial breaks, everyone's running up to the other top pros. It's like, oh, Hero, you actually should be in this finals. He's like, I know, yeah, here's your signature.
Guys, before we get any further in this, we want to say thank you, everybody who's been supporting us on Patreon, patreon.com/ASL English. We hope those of you who have not signed up yet to support the ASL and the English production for it will do so. We really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, without you guys, this just would not occur. So
literally,
much love to everyone, and I hope that it continues forever, man. This is honestly like a tournament that I would cast for the rest of my life.
Yeah. I guess we're actually going to go to an interview now with the friends of the players. We'll let that play out here.
선수가 앞서 나가고 있습니다.
네.
현재까지 김윤중 선수 보시기에 김지성 선수의 컨디션 좀 몇 % 정도 올라와 있는 것 같으신지 좀 궁금한데요.
지금 우승할 만큼의 컨디션 나온 것 같아요.
오.
네. 제가 또 시즌1 우승자 아니겠습니까?
그렇죠.
먼저 해본 입장에서 봤을 때
오늘 우승했어요.
했어요?
네,
몇 세트를 봤을 때 이거 김지성 트로피 들어 올리겠다라는 느낌 좀 드셨나요?
지금 진 경기를 보면 자기의 약간 빌드 선택 오류에 따라서 진 거거든요. 그건 안 쳐주기 때문에
네.
지금 3세트 보고 경기를 보고 느낌 왔습니다.
기세는 이미 김지성 쪽으로 넘어왔다고
네.
보시는군요.
네.
사실 근데 김지성 선수가 결승전 경험이 없기 때문에 말씀하셨던 것처럼 유경험자 입장에서 경기 전에 좀 어떤 말씀을 좀 해주셨는지도 궁금해요.
저한테 안 그래도 물어보더라고요. 저는 그랬어요. 상대가 조기석이라서 우승했다. 그래서 뭐 딱히 조언 못 해줬고 오늘 그냥 편안하게 늘 하던 대로 했으면 좋겠습니다. 예.
자, 이제 정말 반환점을 돌게 될 네 번째 세트를 앞두고 있는데요. 김윤중 선수가 김지성 선수에게 해주고 싶은 가장 해주고 싶은 메시지는 어떤 이야기일까요?
우선은 우승하기 전까지는 확정 짓기 전까지는 내가 이길까? 이길 것 같다 이런 생각조차 안 했으면 좋겠어요. 지지를 받아내고 나서 확신을 가졌으면 좋겠습니다.
오로지 경기 생각만 해라.
네.
정말 좀 선배다운 모습을 보여주셨습니다. 자, 김윤중 선수가 또 이렇게 김지성 선수를 응원해 주셨는데 이번에는 유영진 선수를 응원하기 위해 현장을 찾아주신 랜딩님과 함께 이야기 나눠보겠습니다. 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
반갑습니다. 자, 일단 유영진 선수가 약간의 긴장을 이겨내지 못하고 지금 1대2로 약간은 세트를 내어주고 있는 상황입니다. 랜딩님 경기 어떻게 지켜보고 계시나요?
근데 항상 영진이가 쉽지 않았어요. 예, 원래 뭐든지 이제 고난을 겪고 좀 약간 좀 트로피를 들어 올리는 스타일이기 때문에 저희는 뭐 걱정 안 하고 있습니다.
사실 유영진 선수가 이번 시즌 가장 많은 경기를 치르고 또 결승전에
그렇죠.
올라오기도 했고 그렇지만 또 응원해주는 입장에서는 살짝 좀 불안한 마음도 있을 수도 있을 것 같아요.
불안하진 않고 그냥 평소 그대로 했으면 좋겠어요. 저희 입장에서는 그냥 당연하다고 생각하거든요. 우승하는 거. 그렇기 때문에 그냥 좀 마음 편안하게 그냥 그런 마음뿐입니다.
파스포드 동료들은 지금 유영진 선수의 상태에 대해서 좀 어떻게 지켜보고 있는 입장인가요?
영진이보다 이제 지성 선수가 진짜 약간 그 초반에만 공격을 하더라고요. 전략을 진짜 날카롭게 준비를 했는데 그것만 막으면 좀 무난하게 이기지 않을까 이런 얘기를 좀 했습니다.
초반에만 잘 막아낸다면 충분히 유영진 선수 트로피 들어올릴 수 있는 가능성 있나요?
당연하죠. 네.
좋습니다. 유영진 선수가 지금 살짝은 긴장하고 있는 것 같은데 랜딩님께서 들릴 수 있도록 정말 큰 소리로 유영진 선수를 응원하는 한마디를 좀 남겨주시죠.
영진아, 우리가 보고 있다!
아마 이 에너지가 유영진 선수에게 전해졌을 것 같습니다. 인터뷰 감사드리고요. 끝까지 현장에서 함께 지켜봐 주시죠. 자, 이렇게 김윤중 선수 그리고 랜딩님과 함께 이야기 나눠봤습니다. 이제 두 선수는 이 결승전의 반환점이 될 네 번째 세트를 앞두고 있습니다. 과연 어떤 선수가 이 무대에서 트로피를 들어 올리며 주인공으로 거듭날 수 있을지 이어지는 네 번째 세트는 김지성 선수가 선택한 전장 오디세이입니다. 함께 만나보시죠.
All right, guys, we're back, and we're ready to go into Game 4. We mentioned this earlier, but it's worth repeating. You know, Royal going for the very weird maps. Every map he selected, he went from weirdest to least weird, but still on the weird spectrum for all of the 7 maps. So, and he had something very mapped out on Neo Arkanoid. He clearly was very eager to try that out. It didn't work. But I think we're going to have the same thing going into map 4 now that it's back into Royal's pick.
Yeah, not quite as crazy as Neo Arkanoid, but Odyssey does have that back expansion. It is a 2-player map. There's like a lot of different terrain features, including the temples, that lead to that back expansion on this map. So there's definitely some room for creativity.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. To see what exactly he's got in store, assuming that, you know, it's kind of going to follow the course that we've predicted so far. Rush has been leaning into fast expand into standard play, which we thought Rush, you know, would probably be going for coming into the series. The problem is that Royal is basically setting up to play around Rush, and that's a very uncomfortable thing. When you know your play style has been identified and you know they're basically trying to circumvent whatever you're doing, it's uncomfortable. We don't know if Rush is going to have a deviation from his play style or if he's going to try to double down and zero in on any weaknesses there and try to deflect that, but it's going to be a tough one for Rush, I think, going forward.
It really is. I think that we saw it on his face too after that last game. You actually mentioned that he wasn't looking too happy, and honestly, that looked to me like the face of someone that knew he might be in trouble. Like watching these games as a fellow Terran player and watching what they're both bringing to the table, it does feel like Royal is playing better, that he's better prepared. Rush does have that one map win against the crazy one base all in. Let's see if he can pick up a second one. I think he still can. Like, even though we're really impressed with the way Royal's playing tonight, things can go wrong, right? Like, if Rush starts switching it up at all, things can go very wrong for some of these builds that seem very mapped out against fast expansions.
Got the eye drops here. That's the first time I've seen that. Not blinking, man. Don't want those eyes to dry out. So, yeah, it's going to be Odyssey here for map 4. Again, Royal in control, but there's still enough games left in this series that Rush could try to turn this around. But, you know, when you're down 1-2, that game 4 is pivotal for the person behind. Because 2-2 or 3-1, it's a very big gap in between.
It really is. Like, having to win out versus it being tied. This is an important map for Rush, and I think it's doable. Odyssey is a weird map, but not the weirdest.
All right, guys, our game's loaded up. Let's do this. Royal vs. Rush. Game 4 on Odyssey starts now.
So in the top right, we have Royal. And in the bottom left, we have Rush.
And, you know, the big feature on this map for expansions is going to be that base at the bottom and the other one at the top that you can get to by SCV, but otherwise you either have to drop there or destroy these temples to get in. And we're going to see if that's going to be a factor, if that plays any role here. Got some fans here from New Zealand. Excellent. Welcome, guys.
Keep holding up this Rush banner. The guys behind it can't even watch.
Yeah, they're like, what's going on? I don't know where they are.
I would cut little eyes out in Rush's eye holes.
Yeah, little eye holes in there. Yeah, cut it into Rush's face. It's like one of those old paintings where they would spy on people.
Yeah. I'm looking out through his eyes. You're looking out through his teeth. This is how we watch.
I've just got one eye hole cut in there where the ear is. I'm looking out there.
Well, let's see what is planned for this map. Like, I mean, we did see a little bit of TVT here already. It felt like in the Rush versus Light series specifically, it felt like that kind of big high ground that's above the temples felt to be one of the more important areas. It's one of the more wide open areas. It kind of goes into all the different parts of the map on that side more easily than everywhere else. And everywhere else is like a very small bridge or a high ground hill, right? So those types of areas are always going to be a little bit harder to push through to do anything against your opponent if they have some control.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like there's basically, like you said, those two diamonds. There's one at the top, one at the bottom, and kind of having control over that gives you supremacy over that position. Another spot that's become very important is the kind of above the center left expansion and below the center right expansion. This very short hill.
Yeah.
Then you can control that, and you know, so much of TVT is like tanks shooting at each other, like one tank trying to get in range but not in vision range.
Yeah.
But in attack range and trying to siege up and then get vision and shoot. And, you know, the fact that you can miss shots onto high ground is huge. I mean, that really changes the whole way that StarCraft operates. It's very different from StarCraft 2 in that sense.
Now, one thing we got to point out here, Tasteless, is this is once again gasless expansion from Rush. And then on Royal's side, that is a very fast factory. Like, he's got his mineral patches on the right, so he's boosting in every single way possible. And that factory is like 10, 12 seconds faster than we normally see. So that's a very fast factory there, which means that whatever he has planned is going to be pretty strong. But he's only mining gas with like one SCV, so we might see him just go expansion this time.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
Well, Royal is going to stay in line with kind of, the themes of these two players. It's staying consistent. He wants to try to engage very early on. This is a very quick starport. Does he want to make another starport?
I don't know, because he wasn't mining gas for a bit there, right?
Yeah.
Like, he has the wall in, so anytime you see a wall, that's the first thing that pops in your mind is like, why do you need a wall? Are you going wraiths?
Yeah, are you hiding something from me?
Yeah, and he is going to go for the command center now. Like, he's banked up. Here we go. The command center is going to go down. But, like, what is this? Is this one port wraith into command center? Something like this doesn't look particularly strong to me.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what I'm watching here, to be frank. I don't get it. Like, I guess we will see shortly here. And it's going to be a control tower pretty quick here. So I assume Wraith Cloak or a drop ship. But then, with a drop ship, it's like he doesn't have any real units out yet. Maybe a 4-vulture drop, I guess?
He hasn't been making vultures, so it can't be that, right? Like, he's cut everything to get the command center out as well. He literally isn't making any units. So,
okay, so it's Wraith and
very,
Cloak.
Yeah, very, very, very quick cloaked Wraith. I don't know what to tell you, Tastosis. I've literally never... Like, there's... when people go gasless expansion, a very popular counter, and we've seen Light do it quite a bit, would be expanding yourself quickly and going 2-port Wraith and trying to punish them with that. This is 1 port before command center. So I mean, it's definitely a bit different. And look at what Rush is doing. He's getting Academy and Armory. Honestly, on paper, this looks so much better to me than what Royal's doing.
Thought that SCV didn't block for a second. He's not going to be able to get in. But the SCV will get out, surprisingly. Kind of a misplay there by Royal. The SCV will not spot the Wraith. Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of head scratching on my end, Artosis. I guess we got to wait and see how this is going to work. But, the problem with one Wraith and why it's so different from, like, let's say Cloak Banshee, which is probably the closest thing this looks to be if you were coming from StarCraft 2, is that, like, look at what little damage one Wraith does to the ground.
Yeah.
It literally can't prevent the Academy or the Armory from finishing here. Like, one SCV can repair another SCV to the point where the Wraith is not going to kill it.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous amount of shots that it takes to kill an SCV, and then as soon as any repair comes, it's like, it gets it out of range. Like, you need 4 Wraiths to 2-shot an SCV. Okay, so that's pretty significant. One Wraith here, like, it's going to run out of Cloak before it can do too much damage.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem is that, like, for as much as you spend on this, it's one of the reasons why, to kind of jump ahead here, it's one of the reasons why when you see people go Wraiths in mid-game, they bank them. Because you need to have that kind of, to spring that attack on them. They're good when they're in enough numbers, but, 1 to 2, and it doesn't really lead to very much. Now he's gone for vultures with some mines. Again, I'm almost entirely casting this from Royal's perspective because I find it so different and so intriguing. Yeah. When you look at Rush, he's getting 4 factories. That's normal. And I guess Royal wants to go for a cheeky, quick 3rd base here.
Yeah, that makes sense in a lot of ways. And, like, he's putting the mines down, so he's, like, overtaxing scans for his opponent. Right? You need scans for the mines, you need scans for the Wraiths, so that's a little bit annoying. And, one thing to point out about his build, because I think he is looking at Terran in a completely different way than everyone else. Like, and he has been for quite some time. Just to throw this into perspective, guys, like, a lot of people ask me, why doesn't anyone use Ghosts? And the answer is Royal is the only guy that uses Ghosts. Okay, so that's how far out there he is from everyone else. But, like, he killed, let's say, 4 SCVs with that. Okay? Now, his command center was a little bit later than it could have been. But normally you get, like, 4 or 5 SCVs behind when it's factory expansion against this type of expansion. And then also his opponent is making 2 comm sets early, which costs 4 SCVs production time. So right now, I guarantee you Royal has more SCVs than Rush.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, Artos. It's very, very subtle, right?
Yeah.
But being forced to at least address the Wraiths. Yeah, and Royal, being able to skip the scans here. He might have, kind of tiptoed ahead in one of the most quiet moves to gain a lead here.
Yes. I think so. And he's got this like very intelligent position that he's taken up here where it's like, yes, he knows his ground army is much weaker, but he's laid some mines. He has the high ground. He's going to hold this area so he has his third workout. And if he just macros really cleanly from here, I think it's good. But look at this. Oh my god, he tries to walk up that front ramp. That's not going to work. The rest of the tanks coming in from the other side. Oh, a little bit slow on the rally here from Royal. Can he hold on?
Another scan comes down here. It doesn't seem like Royal's going to be broken right away. Keep in mind that third base is going to finish. The gas will be taken soon. Another tank drops here, and this is Royal being smart. He realizes the position's gotten a little bit weaker. He needs to back up and siege up somewhere else. Now, I think the idea here from Rush is to try to come in here and tear down these temples. And the question is, can he do that in time? You know, it's really going to be kind of this race to the top here.
This is kind of crazy. Like, Rush, I think, by walking around those mines to that other side, has kind of screwed up the idea of Royal. If he had been any slower getting up there, there would have been plenty of tanks for Royal to hold this position indefinitely. But now Rush has pushed to what looks like might become a pretty sizable advantage. If he kills those temples and just sends a couple of units down there, the SCVs have to run. The base is done.
I mean, we are waiting to see if he's going to be able to break up into this. I do want to point out, like, the tanks are going to kill that temple. There's like, I don't think there's any way that Royal can prevent that.
No.
Because he certainly can't push in here. And then I think it would literally just be like 1 or 2 Goliaths can walk in there, and that's all you need.
He'll have to lift. He'll have to run. Like, I think he is going to give it up. There's not really any other choice. I think you have to just basically expand to 3 o'clock and just say, okay, you get that. You know, there's no clean way to break this right now.
At this point in time, you know, I see what Royal was trying to do, but I think it was never going to be enough to kind of deal with the fact that Rush is just going to straightforward make 4 factories and have the ability to move on the map. You know, I do like the mines being planted behind. He might be able to catch something later on. And these vultures are going to come down here and force at least a delay on the completion of the command center.
Yeah, this is actually really, really nice with the mines going down and everything. Very annoying to deal with, but this is going to get rid of Royal's base. So Royal, I think, will be giving that up now. Trying to just slow the third base of Rush. And you can see Royal actually has more supply right now, although a lot of that is in vultures, so it should be taken with a grain of salt. But look, like, we're in a really kind of dynamic position right now. A lot of map control still goes to Royal. He's got mines all over the place. He's running around, whereas Rush is just focused on getting his base up and killing the base of Royal.
You know, he's doing a really good job of stopping this command center from finishing. Like, this is actually kind of crazy. Like, as dramatic as this push is to the top, the little snipes on these workers and the fact that this is getting slowed down, I mean, Royal may have kind of just managed to recover. Keep in mind the tanks haven't been able to come up here and fill in this position at the top because they've been dealing with those vultures. And so now Royal's going to try to shove in over here.
Wow, he has enough tanks to do it too, I think. Oh, this little flank from Rush is a big, big deal. Comes in just in the nick of time to save those top tanks. Oh my god, that turned on its head so quickly. Royal had enough and then he didn't.
I think he's dead.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just so many tanks, man. I mean, if he could just walk in here and kill this off, that's all you need to do. And now we're seeing, you know, the real problem with Wraiths in general is that, you know, they're so flimsy and weak.
Dude, this was a wild game, no doubt about it. And, like, yeah, it's still going on, but this is looking so good for Rush now. He's got such a high-quality army. He has his third base up. Royal is taking that 3 o'clock base, sending SCVs down now. He's still technically mining the minerals up here, which is nice, but, yeah, it's just about time to evacuate.
He's driven these SCVs, actually they both have, I guess. Vultures coming up here and driving these workers out. And, you know, honestly, it's kind of crazy, right? Like, I feel like Rush is so close to winning this, but Royal is sort of finding a way to kind of stay alive and stay in this and be a thorn in Rush's paw, so to speak. And, you know, let's not give up on Royal yet. Now, Royal is going to give up on that position at the top diamond spot that we were talking about earlier. Such an important place to control, but it has also created this imbalance down here at the bottom. I mean, you know, with all the attention Rush has given the top center, there's been a lot of neglect here at the bottom center, and now we're going to see Royal kind of circumvent the position, lay mines. I don't know if he's going to be able to get that much done here, but let's find out.
Kind of a big moment. He brings his own siege tanks down, and he is going to be able to pick off some of these tanks, maybe lay some mines as well. A light containment looks like what he's going for here, and it looks like Rush is just barely going to stop it. But I got to tell you, it's like, I think we're both on the same page that it looks like Rush has the advantage here and is likely to end up winning, but Royal just is continually giving himself opportunities here to get even, to get ahead, to outplay, to outmaneuver. Whereas Rush is playing a very straightforward, macro-heavy game.
I do think a lot of the, you know, if Royal does lose this, it's going to come down to the opening. I think the opening was so, I mean, there was a lot of brilliance, and it kind of showed his pretty incredible insight into, you know, the inner workings of the opposing Terran to try to use that SCV boost to try to get ahead. But I think ultimately it's like, okay, but, you know, I mean, there's a reason why Rush is doing what he's doing, right? I mean, 4 Factory is pretty robust, and he did manage to get a contain on your side of the map very early on. So, yeah, I mean, that being said, though, you know, Royal is still growing into the bottom. And right now it is actually Royal with more SCVs now being transferred to another 4th base where we don't have a 4th base yet here for Rush.
Dude, it's crazy. How does he do this?
It's wild.
he's like staying ahead on those expansions. You know, the extra minerals he got from that quick third definitely paying off here in huge dividends while he takes that bottom right, pushing through the center, utilizing that science vessel to just very quickly move forward. And now he's holding this kind of interesting position there where I don't know, is he gonna retake this diamond?
Yeah, I'm not totally sure about that. He may be able to isolate these tanks up here at the top. He's gonna try to come in here from the side and from below.
Well, he's starting to break it. We could get a D-Matrix down here to kind of help out, but no, it doesn't look like there is one here for Rush. He's gonna pull back, he's gonna lose this area. So maybe that command center can go land once again, and Royal starts to take a supply advantage.
It's like Royal's SCVs just mine more minerals and gas. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like just so crazy to me. Well, he's got another base down here at the bottom. It does look like that, you know, 12 o'clock is going to be reclaimed here for Royal. And, I mean, I'm kind of blown away here. It's just like he's just able to sort of will his way through this. I feel like games like this, you know, there must be something about Royal that is so much more efficient about how he's just dealing with stuff, how he's fighting, how he's producing, how he transfers. Like, it's almost like this is hard, at least for me. I don't know about you, Tastosis, but it's like hard to see the real thing that he's doing exactly because his builds are good, but whether the build works or not, this is game 4. So we've had 2 games where the opening didn't work and 2 games where it did. Actually, no, 3 games where it didn't work. And it's still like he's just making this work.
No, you're right. He's doing more than Rush is just overall.
Yeah.
Like there are more things, there's more moving pieces for him. Like he's multitasking really well. And the way that he's setting up the expansions really quickly while everything else is going on is phenomenal. I mean, this is years and years and years and years of dedicating yourself to the game to get this type of mastery. But this is honestly something different and something new. Like, this is very different from Rush, very different from Light. You know, there's some brilliance that we're watching here from Royal.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many decisions that he's clearly making that it's almost hard to capture in the moment. That, like, he's continuing to get ahead in ways that almost don't make sense to me. Like, you know, in some ways, TVT can be very simple to cast because you watch who's containing who, right? But it doesn't seem to be applicable here with him. You know, he's playing such a brilliant game And, you know, Rush, if he loses this, I think this is going to be a 4-1 loss overall, man. I don't see it being any other way.
You could definitely be right about that. Look at this. Another drop coming in to Rush's 4th base. Rush does have some units up here and some others nearby, and in fact will counter drop as well. A very important moment here in this game. Can Rush eliminate that base? Definitely he's going to eliminate the base he attacked, but can he save this base at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, this is... The thing is that... Look at the minimap right now. Royal has that diamond controlled at the bottom, the diamond at the top. He has not actually, surprisingly, landed his 12 o'clock base, but...
Yeah.
I mean, he's basically either slightly ahead or positionally way ahead, depending on how you look at it, in this game. In spite of, I think, a very treacherous mid-game he was in.
Certainly, you're right about that. I am a little bit confused about what's going on at 12. Like, he's doing everything else. I think there's still 3 vultures there and 1 tank on the high ground. I think that's what's occurring, where he just, like, hasn't had the moment to clear that up. There's so much going on right now for Royal, who is ahead in supply and continuing to move out on the map for more pressure.
It is actually forgivable, by the way. Like, there's something to that. Because he knows it was more important to hit the other bases right now and get the contain up than it was to reclaim 12 o'clock. He already had 12 o'clock earlier. He got the minerals from that. And he's decided, and I think this is absolutely the best way to do this, is to just keep hammering the main. Because the only direction Rush can expand is up, so he has to keep defending. Oh my god, the targeting is perfect!
Craziness. The amount of tanks that are blowing up is phenomenal. Another set of dropships coming in here as well. +3 attack already done for Royal. And he is just going to start to shell everything. This is so cost efficient. Rush has to be kicking himself here.
I mean, this is a terrifying loss here. And it's looking more and more like a loss as time passes. Even with Royal taking the upper left. Like just the stone's throw away from the position Rush has at the top as well. This is actually plummeting the number of supply depots to such a low amount. By the way, +3 attack, 0 armor. That's also interesting. Only 1 armory running here for Royal. Huh.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you're keeping this type of pressure on and producing this quickly, he's up like almost 50 supply, man. Like, I get it. The attack upgrades certainly are more important, and he's... Like, look, GG once again.
Dude.
Royal
is a god at this matchup.
He is
I feel like we haven't quite seen domination like this in a mirror matchup since Reigns PvP and KSL years ago. Like pre-pandemic.
Yeah. Like, honestly, this is giving me itches of Flash, where I'm like, oh, he's just doing so much more than his opponent. Like, he is, like, his strategy is on another level, and then his macro is absolute top tier, and then he's also doing things like consistently expanding while pressuring the entire map at once. It's almost absurd to watch. Like, honestly, I'm getting those Flash vibes.
I really am, too. Royal comes true. I couldn't have said it better myself, man. Yeah, man, this is honestly terrifying. That kind of game, by the way, I almost like wish we could do like a deep dive where we get in from his perspective and Rush's perspective and spend like 4 hours like going over every interaction they had and seeing what Royal's doing better, because some games it's easy to see, you know, who came out on top, but the fact that Royal got out-positioned early on, we thought he had kind of a weird build. Frankly, it was kind of weird, very different approach to the matchup, and then still had like such a suffocating defeat.
Yeah, like Royal just was on top of absolutely everything. When Rush walked around and started to take good engagements up on that diamond, and Royal was kind of in a tough spot, it felt like it was going to get really, really bad for him. But some of his Vulture counterplay helped out quite a bit, slowing down that third base, just being so annoying, and then consistently expanding towards the bottom right. That kept his economy flowing. He kept the pressure going with these dropships non-stop as well.
Even that D-Matrix dropship in the front to spot for the tanks. So he's going to win that fight. Like, it's so sick. It's like a barracks in place of that. I mean, it's crazy. I have to say, this has been my favorite TVT series I've ever casted.
It's an amazing
so far.
one.
It's a really good one. And it's going to continue on after this break, guys. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. ASL. We'll be with you in just a minute.
Up hot for a minute. 그래 걱정 빼고 고민 빼고 망설임 빼고 This is StarLeague. 없어도 되는 건 빼고 실성사이다 제로.
아침은 라떼, 홀리 점심은 라떼, 홀리 저녁엔 라떼, 홀리 둥글하게 달콤하게 라떼 홀리.
달달한 충전이 필요할 땐 칸타타
라떼 홀리.
상큼함 맥스 칼로리 X 맛있는 탕스 제로 요즘 제일 탐나는 제로 탕스 제로 같이 떠나볼래?
Welcome back to the ASL Finals. What an insane TVT this has been. And a real development in our understanding of, who ranks where with these players. I mean, Royal seems to have some of the best handle on TVT that we've seen since Flash. I mean, he just seems to get it in a way that is almost eerie.
He is finding ways to abuse and open up the matchup in ways that literally, like you said, we don't see anyone but Flash do these things. And of course, this is different. It's definitely a different style, a different feel, but I don't feel like we see anything down this line. For the other best Terran players in the world are Light and Rush. And Rush beat Light in this tournament. And Rush is looking outclassed by Royal. So, I mean, look at it. Look at what's going on here. I don't think anyone else really stands up to those four as far as Terran level goes.
Yeah, and Rush, I mean, you can feel the tension. I mean, he's muttering to himself. He looks almost ill sitting in the chair. I mean, especially, these games where, frankly, even when Rush gets ahead, it's like Royal makes it look... Royal is so slippery in how he approaches the matchup that he just kind of wriggles free, and then he's ready, to come back and fight again. And at the same time, guys, let's not forget, the one win that Rush has was that game on Neo Arkanoid where Royal did this weird attack that I think had some ideas, but, it was spotted early, and, Royal just tapped out and went right back into dominating from there.
Yeah, it's pretty scary right now for Rush. So he needs to figure something else out. I am completely serious here. He needs to stop going for Rax Expand. These gasless expansion builds, it's like it's the safest way to get into a macro game, but it's very clear that Royal has his finger on how to abuse them.
Yeah.
So I want to see something else from Rush here.
I agree. You're giving an opening for Royal to do the weird stuff that he can exploit, your position for. There's also, well, I don't know. I mean, I just want to get into this game. Sylphid 3 is going to be our game here for this map, and I got to say, man, this makes for some great TVTs. It is a tricky positional play on this map. We'll get more into that as the game starts up here. Royal versus Rush continuing on. Right now, Royal with a 3-1 lead here in this best of 7. If Royal wins here, he is the ASL champion. The only hope for Rush is to try to come back 3-0.
All right, let's see what Rush can actually end up pulling off here. Sylphid's a very different map. It's a pretty standard map overall, very flat and smaller than the other maps. So a lot of units early on can be quite strong.
All right, guys, Game 5 starts now. Let's go. Like that shot of Castor Park taking a sip of his coffee.
Yeah.
Hey, the energy drink sponsor, man.
So here we go on Sylphid. Up at 12 o'clock, we have Royal. And over in the bottom left, we have a Rush. Okay, so the first thing that occurs to me because this has been a theme for Royal overall. 12 o'clock mine's the best. So whatever optimized build he has is going to probably do best from this position.
12 o'clock mine's the best? I always thought this mine the worst. It felt so weird.
Yeah, those top 4 patches actually mine really quickly because they hit the top of the command center so nicely. Oh. It's like a funny thing. But yeah, like the left position, mine's the worst, right? Because like anything with minerals on the left generally doesn't do as well. But 12 o'clock is pretty crazy. Like if you optimize everything, it mines very, very well.
Yeah, I've been practicing.
Maybe if you boost both the first and third patches on the right, maybe that's comparable to 12. But like if without taking into consideration like perfect boosting, 12 is awesome.
We should talk a little bit about mineral boosting here because this is, it's hard to do. It's like when you show people mineral boosting, people are like, "I'm going to walk away from this game. This is too much."
yes. And you don't have to do it. You can be really good.
You don't have to do it. And it makes a minor difference at the start. But like as an example, for most of the spots, if the minerals are on the right side, and you're looking at the mineral patch, it's usually at the top. This is not a universal rule, but a general rule. If you want to see it, you'll notice your probe or SCV or drone kind of pulls towards the middle of the nexus or command center instead of kind of connecting with the top. So it doesn't quite go in a straight line. And, a lot of workers don't go in straight lines. But what you can do is, as it's on the course to that kind of curved maneuver back, you just hit C on your keyboard, which is the command for any worker that has minerals in its hand that you have selected to return the minerals. It'll then reset the path. Yes. And so it makes the path from point A to point B more direct. And if you do that, like let's say 6 or 7 times in the early game, you have a few extra minerals, so you kind of get your stuff out earlier. And eventually you have so many workers, there's no point in doing the mineral boost anymore. You need to focus on other stuff too.
That's right.
But it does allow you to slightly, by maybe like 5% or something, 10%, enhance your position in the first minute or two. And to be honest with you, go ahead. Sorry, Tastosis.
No, I was just going to say it does make a difference. Just for the record, like Zerg players basically figured out everything about mineral boosting, and the other races have followed suit because they have less drones, and it's like very important for their timings. But yeah, it just shows the infinite depth of this game. The difference between just choosing the right patches and perfect mineral boosting, for instance, on the right-hand side mineral patches, is like about 30 minerals by 10 supply, just to give a general idea.
There's a term for games. There's a term for games like this in Korean. It's called poinmul games, which is Korean for shallow water games. Where like you have to get really good at these really weird parts of the game. Like a lot of times when you hear people complain about like this game's too complicated or I don't like, why do I have to do this? That's kind of the appeal of these games. Like Tekken's like this, where like there's like so many characters in the game and like there's so many things you just sort of have to know to play at a higher level, and like the knowledge is rewarded, and there's these weird circumstances. You have to be very good at certain techniques and certain matchups that are so specific. Smash Melee is like that, and it kind of allows you. It's kind of like when you started to learn the weird grenade positions in Counter-Strike, or flashbang positions, I guess, is a better example, where it's like it's so specific. Certain lane matchups in like League of Legends or Dota, it's like that's the joy of the game, is kind of having to master all these specific things. These weird chess positions where only certain tactics, like a smothered mate with one knight, how often does that ever present itself? Very rarely, but if you know how to look for it, you can have that moment, and maybe you win like 1 or 2 professional games that year with that, right? By the way, 3 factories right away here for Royal.
Yeah. So to jump into what's happening in this game, they actually reversed where they're at. So it's a factory expansion from Rush, and from Royal, it is actually the gasless expansion into the 3 factory. Now, we have the tank coming up. We'll see if this is going to be the 2 tank with siege mode push that Royal actually did to Rush previously. Imagine if he does it too, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know why I don't know about this build, but okay. Well, I don't.
Well, what's funny too is now that you know this, it's like it's too late to help you because the ASL finals just happened. It's like this one of the 2 biggest StarCraft events of the whole year, like the 2 ASL finals. So it's like, well, now everybody knows this. It's no longer like a cool little strat.
See, Rush doesn't know it. He's not, like, this is not a build in his repertoire. He didn't get Siege mode, right? It looks really similar to what we saw from Royal, but it's really not similar.
Well, it's not the same build. I stand corrected.
Yeah. So, no Siege mode here from him. And we don't see whether or not he's going to heavy Vultures at this point either. And Royal, you can see already making a strong move, moving out, taking out the 2 Marines.
Yeah, the Vultures are going to have to hang back. You see Rush landing the barracks. I love it. That's going to make the tank just go all the way around.
Oh, and he's actually laying mines in that rally path. So he's saying no more tanks to come out. And now he's going to try to push everything back. Without the 2 Marines here, the damage output is a lot lower. We don't see him trying to offensively lay any mines. I thought he might, but no, just targeting down instead of laying those mines.
Oh my god, the tank's going to win this fight.
Yeah. That's
this is very good for Rush.
Yeah. Oh my god. Now Rush is banking up quite a bit during all of this micro.
Oh my god, the bunker's empty.
Yeah, the bunker is empty. And
That's
now,
actually funny.
he might just get him, man. Look at this. He's starting to really push forward here.
Yeah, and he can't land the barracks right now. Look where it's located. It's like behind the army of Rush here, so he can't fill that bunker in. So yeah, the threat is real here. This tank kind of stuck on the outside. And the Vultures are going to keep chasing it, but he knows to retarget down onto the other Vulture for a second. Oh, my God.
Oh, man. The SCV's being pulled. Royal just not able to break this tank. Oh, my God. Really trying for it. And he... Rush gets the tank. This is a huge moment.
Rush winning with a rush, perhaps. He's going to keep coming forward now. And he can actually snowball that damage. Yeah, that's not going to be enough.
Oh my God.
It's funny, the Vultures don't really do that much damage to tanks, but they add like that extra little percent that can swing the fight. Now, no more tanks are being pulled back up here in this fight, by the way, for Rush. And if there is, there's 2 spider mines there to detonate it. So, oh my God. Okay, he kills it.
I can't believe you got the other tank, too. They're, like, watching them focus fire here with the Vultures as well, when there could be mine laying and everything, shows that their math on this is just a different level from everyone else's. Really fantastic. Oh, that's it. That's it. That mine hit right there, Tastosis. 2 Vultures and the tank goes that low. This is where Rush is going to jump on him and kill him.
Yeah, that's crazy. The Vultures are going to have to pull back. The tank is being repaired. It's going to be reintroduced into this in just a second. More Vultures going to come down. But hold on, Royal is actually kind of...
Yeah.
He's picking his fights very well. The tank's going to come back up once more. That's going to be that critical extra damage. But isn't there another tank already ready?
I don't know if he's still making tanks. Like, he might switch into pure Vulture. You know, like, if you've held it at your front, it's probably better to flood Vultures for a moment to gain map control and then go back into tanks. So it's possible that he has stopped his tank production now.
I mean, this is wild. More Vultures coming out. Royal is going to send a Wraith in over here. Again, the one tank, it's kind of crazy. It's almost like the tank is like a Warcraft 3 hero or something like that.
Yeah.
And like you just see these other few extra units to like do the damage you need to do.
Well, the tank has such great range. It tanks so many shots from Vultures that do 1/4 damage to it. It's just like, it's such a fantastic unit here. And look, the Vulture's coming up now. Oh, the mine actually hits Rush's tank. Oh my God.
Dude, is Royal gonna actually win this game too? Like, just against all odds recover?
I don't think so. Like, I still like where Rush is at. Look, he's getting up to 5 facts pretty quickly here. You know, he already has his comstats making. He already has an armory. Like, and don't forget, like, a decent amount of SCVs were lost for Royal at the beginning there. So I think that Rush is just kind of ahead in all ways.
Yeah, I mean, it's just such an odd game to kind of start this off here. Kind of wild how action-packed this TVT series has been. Royal's going to try to come out on the map. And let's see what he can do pushing through here. You know, it does seem like Rush is going to try to take a wider spot. It's hard on 2 bases to control this much of the map, by the way, because there's going to be openings somewhere, right? They're going to continue to both power up on factories heavily. And it looks like it's going to be Royal taking the first 3rd base here. That's a command center. Yes, it is.
All right. So he's taking that mineral base. That's like the safest base that you can take here. I think there's too many mines and too much control for Rush for him to really risk taking anywhere else. He'll probably take that high ground at the 3 o'clock as his next one. I think he's a little bit afraid of taking that little pocket expansion. In the meantime, Wraith's still being made here, just kind of being stacked up. We'll see what he's able to do with that, but with Goliaths already out for Rush, I can't imagine those Wraiths causing too much of a fuss.
So, what do you think of the difference between the third base acquisitions here? We have Royal taking that one that's at the upper right, and instead it's going to be the one more in the middle here for Rush. Is that just because Rush doesn't want to expand more to the top left because it can be dropped easily?
It's more like Rush has map control. If you look around, he's got these great minefields all over the place. So it's going to be feeling really good for him now. Oh my God, look at this. The Wraith's getting absolutely slaughtered here. Rush just continues to gain more of an advantage. But yeah, this has to do with the fact that he's controlling the center, so he can just take that. It's an easy base to throw down. You get that additional gas, and he can keep the pressure on. And, I mean, from here, he can just continually expand, whereas for Royal, he's like, okay, we're going to take what we can get right now and try to fight back.
Now, again, we talked about Royal and how bad of a spot he was in the last game. He did recover, but this one looks almost worse in some ways.
The map is a lot simpler. Like, how do you play around someone here?
Well, the other thing, too, is that it's a 3-player map, and guess who gets to have access to the other starting location?
Yeah.
It's Rush. And that's, you can actually kind of boil the game down to that right now. Right now, it's Royal with about 1/3 of the map under his control, and Rush with the other 2. Even though there's no buildings there, he's going to be able to put a command center there freely.
Yeah, eventually he will. Like, it's a big thing on Sylph. It actually forces a lot of action on this map, because if someone does end up taking the other main base, they'll just win. So it forces the player that's like a little bit more contained to act more decisively. You can't just cut across somewhere and like take half map, right? Like, your opponent's going to be up like 3 bases, so you have to actually go and do something. Now, here, Rush is continuing to push. Like, the tanks all rotated down to protect that new high ground 4th base that Royal's taking, which allows Rush to get an even stronger position to the north. And look, he's repositioned this, so it's dropship time. In these spawns, especially, Rush is at a big advantage in this portion of the game. He's got map control, and the back of Royal's base is like just sticking out. Like, if we get 2 dropships here for Rush, he can suddenly ferry a bunch of units into the main base and just destroy everything for Royal.
Yeah, it is a bit of a positional weakness here for Royal. That main, he's having to pull all the way out here to the center right and down to try to gain the ground he needs to gain here. And you're right, the main base, it's such a ripe target.
I'm not sure how he wants to play around this. Like, I saw that he still had a couple Wraiths in his base. He might continually make Wraiths or something. Maybe he starts laying mines in his main, leaves a few tanks behind. But he's got to know that drops are going to become just hell on earth for him. Like, how do you end up blocking these and holding your front?
Now, it is worth pointing out that there are more bases for Royal. Royal sort of like wheels his way through this, but here's what Artosis was mentioning earlier. Like, this is a headache, man. The Wraiths can at least gun down the drop ships, so there is going to be, a moment where there's going to be a recovery time once Royal cleans this up, but man, this is tough.
Yeah, it's really annoying. He has to bring a lot of units. You can see the supply, which used to be even. Suddenly it's like 30 in Rush's favor. And you know what? Royal got the dropship, so that's nice. But suddenly Rush is open for an attack. A lot of the supply of Royal's in the main base. And here we go. He pushes forward. Vulture's a little bit slow to get to that front. Going to target down some of these siege tanks. I don't think Royal's broken yet. But Rush definitely showing you how to play in this spot.
Yeah, Rush is playing an excellent game. This is an exciting recovery, by the way, because it's going to. If Rush does win this, it's like he's winning on his own terms here.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. And if he does win this, it shows that these gasless expansions that they're doing are not really as favored as both of them seem to think.
Yeah. So another drop over here into the main. Keep in mind he can kill the SCV that's actually making that command center. That's going to be another big slowdown there for Royal.
The ranged Goliaths here posing such a problem, taking out these Wraiths. The dropship's going to make it out this time. Both the Wraiths end up dying.
Oh, these SCVs, what is happening? They're like, all right, let's get into a spot where both the tanks can hit us.
Yeah,
what am I watching?
Oh, man. Little drop from Royal, denying that base at least for a moment. And look at this. Royal is being a little sneaky snake. Look at him move his tanks down here and try to take control of the bottom right. Dude, if he takes control of the bottom right and wins this game, I don't even know anymore, man. That would be crazy.
Rush is continuing to shred this position right now for Royal. Now, Royal has actually kind of looped around, which is sort of funny to see. It does seem like suddenly, even though Rush is pushing through and crushing, I just want to point out in the mini-map, if you look at the bottom right, it's like Royal does have control over the bottom right main. It's actually kind of crazy.
Yeah, like, seriously, if he takes that, that's the weirdest turnabout possible, because Rush has kept so much control of the center. That should not be something that he can maintain. But Rush continues to just kind of push single-mindedly towards this main base area. And honestly, once he controls this big choke that he's getting, like he just killed the last tank in it, then units can't rotate around for Royal. And then the entire map is basically Rush's. He just has to mass up for a couple rounds, and he should be able to break every single position.
Yeah, he's continuing to power up here. Royal on the ropes, but I got to say, doing a very impressive job kind of hanging on, surviving in this game. And I'll tell you what, Rush winning this game, it's huge, man. It means that it's not going to be the kind of doom and gloom we were talking about earlier, where it just seemed like there was absolutely no hope for him.
Yeah, definitely a very solid game from him. Very back and forth with the initial push that we saw, where mines were hitting tanks and everything, these crazy target downs where Vultures are foregoing any other abilities and just trying to help kill a siege tank. But Rush has taken so much control now. You can see he's just expanding to everywhere. He's up at 5 bases, which, like, kind of technically Royal's getting into, but he doesn't have any way to defend them.
I mean, another, this is divide and conquer, right? He broke open that position over there, then he could fork out units and start to hit these other locations pretty hard.
Yeah, in the meantime, Royal trying to come through and break once again. You can see what that +2 attack is doing right now to Royal as he attacks him with his just +1 tanks. And I think we're going to see GG in a moment. There's like almost nothing left for Royal to even try now.
Yeah, kind of a crazy start to this game and, a pretty wild ending here. But, Rush overall kind of kept the lead, kept it going. Some of the most interesting early game TVTs we've ever had, really.
Yeah, it really, really has been. Royal fighting back pretty well considering the damage that Rush put onto him this game. I think he got a little bit greedy, a little bit of an overextension as he was trying to take that bottom right area, but maybe he felt like that risk was really his only chance. Now he's trying to take this base, but there are just so many units. Look at this. It's like Vultures and Goliaths and Siege Tanks just pushing forward, and there's just not enough of anything for Royal anymore.
No, I mean, this game should be over, and getting this position fractured as well, it's just going to get worse. The Goliaths can even target down the command center after the tanks have fallen here.
And look at that. Down go the tanks. Finally, Royal does have that +2 attack. If he had held on to 3 o'clock, I could see, like, maybe some sort of way out of here. But look, he like, for instance, here, he's made 3 Cloaked Wraiths. He's going to try to clear that. Do you think that's going to work out? No. There's Rush can just kind of do anything now. His economy is so large. He could throw down, like, 5 starports and mass Wraiths. He can just make tanks and siege them and start making turrets, and it's just nothing's going to be breakable anymore.
Yeah, this command center is just going to be killed by siege tanks, too. This is how all over the place Royal is. Royal losing this base here now. We should see him tap out momentarily here. I mean, it's yeah, there it is. Yeah. Okay, GG. That does it. Whew.
All right.
Rush is coming back, which means we're going to be going into another game here.
Yeah, that was a good one. Like, Rush showing that he can still hang with Royal. Royal going into that 3 factory Vulture. he got contained kind of early on. The siege tanks of Rush definitely doing a very good job for him. Some nice micro there. And just getting the mines everywhere kind of forced Royal into this very defensive position where he couldn't really do too much. And then you look at like the rotationally symmetric part of the map where suddenly Rush can start dropping the back of the main base. Suddenly, you know, Royal has to like leave Wraiths there and siege up tanks and build turrets. So he was just at a deficit everywhere.
Man, this is a fun TVT series, I gotta say. It's hard to say who is, if Rush can recover, and if so, how he's gonna do that, but I'm relieved, to say the least, that he actually did manage to power through with a standard win and not just Royal kind of bungling an attack early on, doing that kind of weird rush that just didn't work out.
Truly, yeah. Well, I'm hoping that he can do it again. I would love to see a Game 7 between these two. And you can see here where some of the micros, this was fascinating from Royal. I did not think we would see him play like that, where he's just targeting. Here, this was a mistake 100%. The two Vultures staying on that one siege tank. He had mines, and of course, you're never going to do any real damage there. So that is one very big moment there for Rush, right? Where
losing those Marines is really bad, too. I mean, this rush would not have looked the way it did had the Marines actually been able to stay inside the bunker and live. Because the bunker is basically what allows you to not have to worry anywhere near as much about tank Vulture.
Yeah, that's certainly the case. And the targeting that we see, like the Vultures so specifically going after the tank sometimes, because sometimes it's really hard to tell. Vultures kill Vultures much more quickly than siege tanks. So it's like, do we target the tank? Do we target the Vulture? The tank is making the biggest difference in these battles.
Yeah, but the tank is a very microable unit in moments like this. It's very easy to pull it away, and it becomes a very good sponge for attacks. And of course, if you overextend, the SCVs can repair it, which makes it pretty bad here. You can see Royal meditating for a moment here as we're going to go into the next game. I think he was eager to try to close this out. You know, he's not out of the woods yet, and especially with Rush recovering in a very standard game, that's scary. Guys, we're going to go to a break. Coming up next, it's Nemesis for Game 6.
Break it down and build it back up. I'm built for it like a Mack truck. I've been coming up hot for a minute. Everybody know the drop when I'm in it. Everybody know the drop when I'm in it. I've been coming up hot for a minute. 그래 걱정 빼고 고민 빼고 망설임 빼고 This is StarLeague. 없어도 되는 건 빼고 실성사이다 제로.
아침은 라떼, 홀리 점심은 라떼, 홀리 저녁은 라떼, 홀리 풍부하게 달콤하게 라떼 홀리.
달달한 충전이 필요할 땐 칸타타
라떼 홀리.
상큼함 맥스, 칼로리 X, 맛있는 탕스 제로. 요즘 제일 탐나는 제로, 탕스 제로. 같이 떠나볼래?
Welcome back to the ASL Finals. It's been a dramatic one. Most of this has been Royal looking terrifying. He did fail in one of his early attacks and made for a short game on Neo Arkanoid, but everything after that and even before was him just dominating. Him making, the matchup look a lot more fluid in the early game and even getting free from positions that were bad for him and recovering very nicely. But in that last game, we saw Rush really power through. The question is, can he do it 2 more times?
I think a lot of that did come down to just the fact that Royal chose to do that gaseous expansion where you're going to be slightly behind on units. So you're kind of utilizing the distance of travel plus your slightly higher economy to try to get your opponent to make some sort of mistake to let up on you. And Rush did a good enough job there that he never really did. Royal was kind of in trouble from the get-go. So very, very well done. And now we go into Nemesis. This is a crazy map. Probably our second craziest. Let's see what they have planned.
Did you blow on his hand? That was so funny by Royal. Never seen that move before. All right, let's go, guys.
Game
His
6.
hand
is hot, or
I
because
don't
it's like
know.
a
He
Nintendo
just-
cartridge?
He like pulled his he pulled his palm out and blew on it. I've just never seen anybody do that. Royal, whenever I look at him in game, it looks like a warlock's controlling his brain, like with his eyes. Look at that.
He's got a very intense look about him.
Yeah.
So, top right is Rush, bottom right is Royal. I'm fascinated to see what openers that we're actually going to get, because Nemesis is such a different map. These types of positions look like this would turn into like a dropship game very, very quickly.
I think you're probably right about that. Probably some other potentially weird openers that Royal may try to go for here. Again, packed here at the Sangam Coliseum over in Digital Media City. One of the 3 major studios they have here at AfreecaTV. Oh,
man.
And this works out perfectly because I was about to plug the Patreon, patreon.com/ASL English guys. Thanks for being patient while you hear us. If you've already been supporting us throughout, thank you for listening to us say that over and over again. But if you're one of those people that hasn't done it, hasn't signed up yet, we do have a goal for the season. I don't know if we're going to make it or not, but the support is appreciated. You know, the good news is that, you know, StarCraft 1 is extremely popular right now. The game's doing very well. There's a lot of young people picking it up. So there's a very bright future for this game, which means that ASL will probably be around for a long time, and I don't really see any reason it would even go away. And so we just want to keep doing this, guys. So the support is appreciated. We love you guys.
Yeah, big cheers to that guy in the chat for being a guy in the crowd and holding up that awesome sign. So thank you very much. And yeah, it's been a pleasure, guys. I'm kind of sad that ASL is going to go away for a few months, you know? I just want more. I would do ASL all year, man, like happily.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, it is a funny thing for us because ASL it's like it's on, and then we have like a couple months off, right? I mean, you know, with StarCraft 2, it's like we have maybe 2 to 3 months off for the whole year. But, you know, there's pretty much a steady circuit going on. And, in fact, that's not even really true. Oh, that's annoying. SCV gets stuck there. But, yeah, you know, StarCraft 2 is a little bit more consistent. By the way, we talked about weird builds. We were not wrong.
That's a funny position, right? That's like a really weird place to be putting. Well, your racks, I was like, okay, I guess so. You have like a high ground there. Okay. Like the Marine could make a stand if someone was coming in and being goofy. And then the factory as well. Like, is he going to float that? What is that?
Yeah, I don't know. You know, and also, let's point out that this is a position where Royal could do something really weird. He could float this up north. I don't feel like it'd be that good, but
yeah, I'm not sure what he would.
I'm not sure
be able to do with that. Like, if he, I guess he could float stuff inside and kill the eggs or something. But like, it feels like things could go wrong too easily.
Tastosis, it's double factory here for Rush.
Oh, Rush is going double factory this time.
Yeah,
okay,
I wasn't even really looking at what he was doing because I was watching Royal's weird placement, but this is very interesting.
I think that Royal may have baited this by hiding his factory, because the safest thing that you can do, if your opponent is going to cheese you and you're not exactly sure what it is, if you just go for a second factory and just kind of produce units, it almost doesn't even matter which units. But if you're producing off like 2 facts, is that a 3rd fact, or is that an armory?
No, that was an armory.
Okay. Yeah, if you just produce off of 2 factories, you'll basically hold anything. It gives you a lot of play, a lot of flexibility. But if Royal just goes into Siege Tank here, which is what it looks like, that's like a powerful counter to what he has maybe baited Rush into doing.
Yeah, it's important to note that, like, when you scout them and you don't see any of their key infrastructure buildings there, I mean, you just, like, pump the brakes and completely because you're in your head, you're like, okay, I have 2 minutes to hold this, or I have 1 minute to hold this. Like, I have to play this out perfectly and I win. And I think he got baited pretty hard because now he's got these vultures. Now, 6 vultures is still a threat along with these 2 Marines, but 1 tank makes it a lot harder to fight. But, I mean, that's not a lot either, Tastosis.
Dude, if you target down the 2 Marines really quickly, you can actually kill that tank. SCVs are coming up, and they're going to have to fight. Like, they're going to have to get in there and mix it up a little bit. Now, here we go. Oh, no volleys. What are we doing? Rush has to turn around as the second tank comes. He missed his time there. Like, he could have gotten in, killed the Marines, and maybe had some sort of play, but now with 2 tanks out, he must run away.
Yeah, this is pretty bad for Rush. I mean, Rush basically got baited into panicking, looked for an opening. And, you know, it's funny. We've talked about the Maca racks in StarCraft 2, which is like you make it look like you proxied, but you actually made it right by your base. This is basically that, but with a barracks and a factory. And Rush's overreaction may end up costing him the finals.
It might. Like, I think he still has a little bit of play here. Hopefully he got mines as soon as those add-ons finish. If you do get mines in a spot like this, like the siege tanks can't really attack, right? In fact, right now it's like 3 siege tanks with maybe a 4th rallying against like 4 vultures, 2 tanks. So yeah, you just mix a couple mines in and Rush should be okay. Well, he comes in, and some good micro here from Royal, just kind of kiting back, picking off the vultures as he can. Not the greatest engagement here from Rush, and now it's 2 tanks against 3, but he's got 2 Marines in here, which have very high DPS. Great targeting goes down, and it looks like Rush is going to pick off all the tanks.
That's insane to me. A miscontrol there by Royal. All of his tanks are gone. The Vulture's going to make a beeline into the main, but a tank's going to shoot that down as well. Has Rush recovered?
Yeah, I think mostly. Like, we probably have just a few more SCVs right now for Royal, but I think it's a playable spot. He's got 2 add-ons. He's pumping out siege tanks, whereas Royal's got 1 add-on. He can make some siege tanks. He's mostly making Goliaths right now, as we see, which is going to be, when you don't have the add-ons and you're behind, you're going to have to do something like this, like take a high ground position with Goliaths and then hope that they overextend.
Yeah, Goliaths are actually pretty okay when it comes to controlling, as long as you can try to just kind of stutter step on top of the tanks. And he is going to take out that tank here now.
Yeah,
but
he sacrifices the Goliaths, but
well, it's Rush getting an upper hand after every fight. You know, I didn't even know that works.
That's cute.
That's hilarious. And that's where the tanks are coming out of. Maybe Rush can come in here and do some real damage.
Maybe. Dude. Look at that. 3 vultures running by. He has mines as well. That means that you can only really produce vultures from here. That is not a good sign for Royal.
Oh my god. The 2 tanks are out.
Crazy.
The SCVs are in the way. Oh god.
Okay, he sieges up in the main base, and he's got 2 vultures here. So I think Royal stabilizes. He's got 2 tanks as natural. Yeah, he's going to stabilize. But Rush has made some very nice plays.
Yeah, Rush has made some progress here for sure. Very cool tactic he set up there with the barracks. Meanwhile, Rush is going to go for an add-on here at the starport.
So 4 factories versus 2 factories in a starport right now. That's what we're looking at. Royal obviously can produce a little bit more. Ooh, Rush maybe overextending with this little containment. Looks like he is going to end up losing all the units. Not the greatest targeting from him, to be perfectly honest. Going to lose a fair amount himself. Like, Rush actually gets better value from that than I thought he would. The barracks having to be remade for Rush. What a wild game that we have here in Game 6.
Yeah, it's, again, kind of disproving the assumption people make about TVT and how slow it is as a matchup, where this is insanely action-packed. You can see Royal starting to basically draw a line in the sand here with the spider mines to basically ensure that he's going to have the beginnings, the semblance almost of a contain.
Yeah. And, he's made a lot of vultures. Now, I mean, vultures are good in TVT, and they will allow him to get some of that map control with those mines and everything, but like I mentioned, this is a map where it looks like it should go into dropship pretty quickly. So this dropship might be able to get in here and start messing things up.
Yeah, and Royal's natural is very droppable. There are mines over here, but I believe he scanned that, so he's going to drop just actually literally behind the minerals. 2 vultures here, 2 more vultures in the main.
Yeah, some annoying stuff, huh? But there is a Wraith on the way for Royal, so I think he'll be able to pick off this dropship right before it gets away. Oh, he sees it blinking and turns around. Well, yeah. What can you do, right? They're making a Wraith. You're going to lose that dropship. I think the drop was still okay. Yeah, let's see. Royal now killing eggs with his vultures. Now, this is kind of the interesting thing about this map and how it's different from a map like Blockchain that was modeled after. Having those eggs on the outside is actually allowing the vultures to have a bit more play than we would see on a map like this otherwise.
Now, Rush is going to try to push out again here. There's a lot of spider mines. They are clustered when they're planted so that, you know, if a couple pop out, you know, you might not be able to gun one down. And sometimes that's all you need to lose your position in the mid game is to have one mine hit a bunch of tanks and vultures. Vultures die in one hit. Tanks almost die in one hit.
That's right. Goliaths as well. Goliaths get down to 1 health if they get a direct hit from a mine. So mines.
Oh, is it literally 1 health? That's so funny.
Yeah,
so then
they have
even
one
vulture shot kills it.
It's kind of crazy. So if early game, if your Goliaths have any damage on them, you want to repair them. Any, like
Makes
even 1 health. But the Vulture's right now running in, clearing out some of these mines. He may want to, if he's going to take that base, kill off those assimilators eventually. But right now, Royal moving through the center. Let's see how Rush tries to parry this.
Yeah, I don't think he sees this up here.
Right.
And, you know, one thing that's scary about this is, like, you're going to get access to the main if you actually go through there. And, you know, the main is really, frankly, the most important thing. Okay, that should give it away.
Okay,
Thanks,
well,
Rude War AI.
Dude, his SCV kind of sees what's going on here. And this could turn into a little bit of a base trade, but I'm liking this for Royal right now. He's going to be able to take control of this high ground, I think.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you know, Royal can, like, buy time over at his natural, but if you get siege tanks in on the main, oh my god, here we go. He's going to move in Rush. Could be going for a kill move here. The tanks of Royal are going to siege up. They're spread out very nicely, and they're distributing quite a bit of damage. SCV is coming forward. Meanwhile, Royal goes into the main. There's only 2 tanks here, and he's already on top of production. This is insane.
Oh, man, this looks way better for Royal right now. He is getting on top of absolutely everything. Some great repair going down from Rush, but over time, I don't think it'll end up being enough.
Yeah, I mean, I think all you have to do is kill off the next couple tanks that come out, keep a couple more vultures alive. And the SCVs, it's not enough to kill this off. He's microing the tanks very well. 1 Wraith comes out. Is that going to be enough to buy him time?
Oh, man. Rush still has a few units outside of Royal's base, but that's not enough for very much counterplay, I think.
Oh
2 Wraiths going to fly across to try to deal with this 1 Wraith. Uh-oh, Rush going to be in some big trouble. If he can somehow kill off the 2 Wraiths, maybe he can stabilize. But Cloak is done, and Royal comes up with the Wraiths. Uh-oh, Tasteless. I think Royal is about to become an ASL champion.
I think this is almost over, Artosis. I mean, the SCVs are repairing. The Wraith over here will eventually kill those tanks off. Meanwhile, Rush's main is in shambles. He's already lost so many factories. Another tank falls as well.
Just nothing left over here for Rush. Unsieging as a Wraith destroys everything he has. Another pops out and will be killed. It's just a matter of time. You can tell by his body language, Rush knows that this ASL is over. GG! And that is it. Royal is your new ASL champion.
The tears are real. I respect that. A lifelong journey has been complete. He is the greatest StarCraft player in the world right now. With ASL Season 14 being his, he came out on top. I'm so happy for him, honestly, Artosis.
It's unreal, man. He played out of his mind, and he's just getting better and better. Like, I don't even know what to say. It's completely a different level. Here is my honest opinion, Tasteless. I think he's better than Light right now. And not just because like he won this tournament, so like of course he is in a way, but I'm talking like I think legitimately he's better than Light right now. Like just straight up. Unreal play here from Royal. Very deserving champion. Going into this season, I'll admit, he was under my radar. I did not think this would occur.
Ditto.
But he is looking ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I mean, he really earned this, you know. He was certainly not even in my, like, top 6 or even 8, to be honest, of players I thought were going to make it. it was an unlikely finals, and honestly, Rush is more accomplished than Royal was. So I thought, maybe Royal is going to have some pretty impressive, cool planned out strats, but instead, man, he was the full package.
He really was. Quick interview here with him now.
자리해 주시길 부탁드리겠습니다. 네, 자 마이크 전달해드리겠습니다. 진짜 눈물 나죠. 10년간의 그 도전 끝에 선수로 데뷔하면서 이제는 나의 세상이다, 내가 보여주겠다, 그런 생을 갖다가 은퇴, 그리고 여러 가지 새로운 길을 찾아보다가 ASL 시작되는 걸 보고 난 이후에 나의 못 이룬 꿈, 나의 목표를 다시 한번 보여주기 위해 노력했습니다. 그리고 10년간의 도전 끝에 드디어 우승을 차지하게 됐어요. 그것도 정말 새로운 테란, 뉴타입 테란, 그리고 아이디로 로얄로 바꾸고 김지성의 새로운 왕조의 시작을 알렸습니다. 어떠세요?
진짜 저 언제 이런 우승을 한번 해보나 싶었는데 그게 진짜 오늘이 돼서 너무 기쁘고요. 지금 일단 지금 뭔가 아무 생각이 안 나는데 그냥 제가 우승자가 됐다는 게 아직도 좀 믿기지가 않는 것 같아요.
정말 쟁쟁한 선수를 꺾어내면서 그리고 많은 관심을 좀 받으면서 또 팬들의 응원을 받으면서 그리고 같은 대학의 동료들의 파이팅을 받으면서 이 무대까지 올라왔습니다. 이번 시즌 김지성은요, 완전히 다른 선수로 성장하게 되는 정말 최고의 시즌을 맞이하게 됐고 전성기를 기록하게 된 김지성이에요. 이렇게 김지성이 다른 선수로 성장하고 우승 트로피를 들어올릴 수 있었던 그 힘 어디서 얻었나요?
근데 진짜로 이번 시즌에 거짓말이 아니라 이번에 철화대를 하면서 정말 많은 응원을 받고 그러다 보니까 이게 많은 사람들이 응원해줘서 보니까 힘이 나서 더 열심히 하게 되더라고요. 그래가지고 진짜 좀 교수로서 멋진 모습도 보여주고 싶고 그렇게 하다 보니까 더 열심히 하니까 더 게임이 덜 재고 이렇게 우승까지 오게 된 것 같아요.
특히 오늘 이 무대에 이사장님까지 와주시면서 얼굴이 비쳤거든요. 그리고 응원의 메시지 보내줬어요. 선수들의 그런 열정, 동료들 열정이 지금 우승 트로피를 들어올리게 만들어줬는데요. 고마운 분들, 그분들에게 한 말씀 부탁드리겠습니다.
일단 오늘 여기 지금 저희 철화대 우리 식구들 많이 와줬는데 저희 총장님 그리고 우리 성태형님, 윤중이 형, 일장이 형 그리고 학생들까지 코치들이랑 많이 와줬는데 진짜 너무 고맙고, 그리고 지금 중계하고 계신 보성이 형도 항상 중계하면서 응원 많이 해주더라고요. 너무 감사드리고, 그리고 너무 진짜 이번 시즌 우승하라고 응원을 해주신 분 되게 많았어요, 팬분들이. 그래서 진짜 덕분에 힘내서 정말 열심히 해서 우승한 것 같아요. 진짜 다들 너무 감사드리고, 근데 저는 여기서 멈추지 않고 다음 시즌도 우승을 목표로 달릴 거기 때문에 앞으로도 많이 응원해 주시면 좋겠고, 그리고 이번에 연습을 솔직히 영진이 형이 영호 형이랑 한다고 하길래 좀 걱정했는데 제 예상대로 별로 무섭진 않았던 것 같네요. 그리고 제 연습 도와준 재호 형, 이영호 선수, 그리고 황병현 선수, 박성균 선수, 그 사태형, 김태형 선수 진짜 너무 진짜 감사드리고, 그리고 이번에 우승을 하는데 정말 저한테 큰 도움이 된 친구가 있는데 그 친구가 아마 보고 있을 텐데 너무 고맙다는 인사 전하고 싶어요. 너무 감사드립니다.
이제 드디어 그 닉네임대로 로얄 김지성 선수만의 그 왕국을 지금 건설하기 시작했거든요. 이 ASL 역사상 어떤 선수가 되겠다, 이 팬분들에게 앞으로 있을 대회에서 각오 한 말씀 부탁드리겠습니다.
진짜 사실 저도 군대를 가야 돼가지고 많은 시간이 많이 남지 않았는데 남은 대회 이번이 마지막이 아니라 또 우승을 목표로 지금 1회 우승자 테란이 3명이더라고요. 제가 2회 우승자로 커리어 2등까지는 꼭 올리겠습니다.
네, 다시 한번 축하드리고요. 앞으로 더 멋진 선수로 발전하는 모습 보이면서 많은 팬분들에게 감동을 선사해 주시길 부탁드리겠습니다. 고맙습니다.
감사합니다.
네. 자, 이제 좀 자리해 주시고 시상식을 진행하도록 하겠습니다. 네. 나의 레벨은 다르다. 어나더 레벨 하식스와 함께한 이번 시즌 역대급 시즌이었습니다. 선수들의 그 의지가 정말 대단했고, 그리고 수많은 팬분들 그리고 각 대학 동료분들이 이 무대에서 큰 힘이 되줬습니다. 여러분들의 그 응원이 선수들을 얼마나 발전시킬 수 있는지 깨달음을 얻게 한 시즌으로 기억에 남을 것이라 생각합니다. 그럼 이제 시상식을 진행하겠습니다. 준우승 부분과 우승 부분 시상했겠습니다. 준우승 시상에는 아프리카TV 인터랙티브 콘텐츠 사업본부의 신현석 본부장님께서 수고를 해주시겠습니다. 뜨거운 박수를 모시겠습니다.
Okay, guys, this is the award ceremony. They're going to be giving the awards out here for obviously first and second place. But I got to say, man, what a great season. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, this was my favorite season in recent memory here. And I think that it gave us a really great new champion. I'm very excited to be watching Royal more in the future. You know, has to be sad for our second place player. His second place in ASL. It, of course, is Rush.
Yeah, and I want Rush to stick with it. I mean, we're seeing this sort of new age of Terrans. I feel like a lot of last year was the new age of Protoss, right, with Mini looking so scary. It's going to be interesting to see, you know, how ASLs continue on from here. Like, who's going to come out on top? Who's really the person that's, you know, navigating the race to a championship?
Yeah. Next season, I think, is going to be absolutely wild because we do have these new rising stars that are doing so fantastically well.
Yeah, we stand on the shoulders of giants. And then now those people are giants that are also have other people standing on their shoulders, man. It's
that's right. And actually, I got to throw this out there, Tasteless. I'm fairly certain that Flash will be out of the military and ready to play next season.
I was going to say the same thing, Artosis. I think Flash should be free. If not, it would be, I think, only one more ASL. Couldn't be more than that. And then he's going to be back in the mix. But I'll tell you what, man, the competition is looking fierce. And we're going to see if he can be usurped.
Yeah, it's looking more fierce than when he was last in, right? Like, people are really leveling up. There's more of an opportunity for them right now. So maybe he can be challenged when he comes back.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that ends up panning out here. But, you know, a very fun season. Again, guys, thank you so much for the support on Patreon. Occasionally we get messages after the, you know, the season's done about what are you guys going to do next. We're going to be waiting for the next ASL to come out. We do hope you support us throughout the year. This is not designed to, you know, just be supported when the ASL's on and then when it's off. So we love you guys. Thank you so much for sticking with us and sticking with StarCraft 1 and sticking with ASL.
That's very appreciated, guys. This has been a fantastic season once again. I think we are just about done here as we're going to watch this trophy ceremony coming up from a well-deserved champion in Royal.
Yeah, and Royal, a really inspiring story. He really did overcome all odds, and Rush was no easy final boss. And I mean, man, he just played a masterful TVT, and I would love to see him versus Flash down the road and see what kind of games you're going to get.
Indeed. That's something that I'll be eagerly awaiting in hopefully the next season, but we'll see about that. But it looks like it's time to see our champion. It's going to be
He's going to have to kiss that trophy that looks like it's the throne in Game of Thrones here, so let's see how he does this, if he cuts his lips or not. Anyways, guys, Rush is the, I'm sorry, not Rush, Royal is the ASL champion. Congratulations to him. He will take home that prize purse of, I believe it's 20 million won. And of course, really, it's the dream come true. All the hard work paid off. He did it. He overcame all odds. 30 million won.
Oh, man.
Roughly $1 billion.
It's more money than the Earth has. We're going to have to print new stuff for him.
It's crazy. Yes.
So, yeah, Royal, you worked so hard for this, and you can really see the emotion in him here tonight. Couldn't be happier for him.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to be it for us and this season. It was a blast. And I don't know. I mean, you know, ASL will be coming back next year. we assume it's going to be 2 seasons. Oh, there's going to be another interview here.
7곽, 5곽 수많은 경기들 지금의 김지성 선수의 우승을 차지하고 우승 트로피를 들어 올리게 됐습니다만 꾸준히 도전을 해준 선수들이 있었기 때문에 이렇게 멋진 무대가 만들어졌다고 생각합니다. 그리고 무엇보다도 이렇게 큰 무대에 꽉 채워주신 여러분들, 매 대회마다 찾아주셔서 이렇게 직관 티켓까지 인정해주신 여러분들, 그리고 각 대학에서 응원해주신 여러분들, 다시 한번 깊은 감사의 말씀드리고, 그리고 이렇게 멋진 무대를 만들어내기 위해 항상 고민하고 또 고민하는 아프리카TV 운영진 그리고 제작팀에게 다시 한번 깊은 감사의 말씀드리고, 저희는 더욱더 업그레이드해서 다음 시즌에 돌아오도록 하겠습니다. 이제 마지막 무대는 김진영 선수의 트로피 세레머니 기다리고 있습니다. 10몇 년 동안 꿈꿔왔던 무대인데요. 다시 한번 축하드리면서 저희는 여기서 인사드리고 마지막 김진영 선수가 장식하겠습니다. 여러분 고맙습니다.
All right, guys. Again, we love you. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back with another ASL next year. And Brood War forever. Any closing thoughts, Tastosis?
No, thank you much, everyone, for helping us out with this. And much love to our entire team for putting this season together. We'll see you guys for the next one.
I don't believe in luck. Clapping like the thunder, breaking through the storm, never going under. Cause fearless I was born, fly like an eagle, eyes like a hawk. They call me the Undertaker when I make those bodies drop. A living legend, with nothing but passion, no defeat. Cause I'm elite, a living legend, out on a mission, all eyes on me, cause I'm elite. Oh, what's my name? Oh, what's my name? Oh, what's my name? The one and only, no defeat, I'm elite. Now what's my name? Now what's my name? Now what's my name? The jokers and the heathens, the wolves and
시절부터 응원하고 있는 되게 오랜 팬인데
NSU의 자부심이 되어줘.
생애 첫 4강 너무 고생 많았고
더 많이 이길 수 있게 저희가 응원 많이 할게요. 진짜 고생 많으셨습니다, 쌤. 멋있게 우승했으면 좋겠습니다. 항상 응원할게요. 화이팅!
장희 형님 같은 경우는 절대 안 진다고 생각을 하고 있고요.
좋은 결과 있기를 정말 바라면서 이번 시즌 너무 고생하셨고 좋은 사람을 쓰는다 조일장 화이팅!
이 대회에서 소년마다 스토리 한번 들어주실 것 같아요.
저희 바스포드 멤버들 다 응원 열심히 하고 있습니다.
파이팅!